So good evening, Kristofer.
Hello, this is Chris.
Hello, Mr. Johnson, Kristofer Johnson, do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I am waiting for Dr. Ataur Rahman. Is he online?
Yes, sir. I'm in line.
Okay, so still 5 minutes?
Yes, yes.
All right, let us wait. We have a guest from outside the country, Mr. Kristofer Johnson, as I see. Let us welcome him.
Welcome, Dr. Kristofer. Hello, Dr. Kristofer. Dr. Kristofer. Dr. Abdhesh. Can you hear me, Dr. Abdhesh?
I'm there. Thank you.
Welcome to the seminar.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Actually, we are facing some trouble with the keeping. Just we are adjusting the system.
Echo I hear. Lot of echo.
Dr. Rahman,
Yes, sir.
we are hearing noise, a disturbing noise
Yes, sir.
when
Yes.
you are speaking. I think it is from your microphone. Please check. Is there any other sound source?
This is from this microphone.
Yes, it is from your microphone. So please check this and take care of it. Dr. Firdaus?
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Firdaus?
Good evening, sir.
Now, what is this echo is coming in? Are you with Dr. Rahman?
Yes, sir. We are in the same place in the conference
That
room.
is, it seems that there is a problem in your microphone or background noise, something. Whenever you're speaking, there is a sound, echo
is it
perhaps.
is it okay now?
No?
Yeah, we got problem with Professor Rahman's, the PC, the laptop.
Then take care of this first.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Sir, we are caring of it, sir. Within some moments, we are going to fix it.
Okay, please take care of it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Uh,
Sir, is it okay now? No, it's still problem.
It is not yet okay. It's still problem.
Is it okay, sir?
No. Check with other audience if they are hearing the same noise or not.
Yes, sir, it's the same. All are experiencing the same.
Dr. Saidur Rahman. Dr. Saidur Rahman.
It's okay now.
Dr. Saidur Rahman. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
No.
Dr. Saidur Rahman. Hello.
Sir, can you, Honorable VC, sir, can you hear me now clearly?
Yes, I hear. I'm just checking whether the problem is with my device or someone else's.
It's like okay now. Is it okay?
It's okay.
Seems okay.
Yes.
Try
At the
again.
moment, it is okay.
Yeah, okay. Sir, can you hear me clearly?
It is clear now.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think it's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
okay, sir.
I still.
Sir, is it okay now? Hello, good evening, everyone. So, I think you can hear me clearly. There is no more issue.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, sir. So, Honorable VC, sir, can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Okay,
Clearly.
thank you. So already we are 3 minutes late. So I can see the number of the audience 43 now. So could you please wait for some moments, or what you suggest? Then maybe we can start.
Maybe 5 minutes.
Okay, all right. Okay, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Ziaul Haque, sir. How are you?
Yes, we can hear
I
you.
am fine.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yes,
we had been in
nice.
South Korea and Malaysia.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to
Yeah,
see you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure to have a guest here.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Very good evening. Welcome to the seminar.
This is Nasir Daula, Director, Bangladesh Climate Change Trust. Thank you.
Most welcome to the seminar in IUBAT, virtual seminar. It's our pleasure to have you as a guest.
Good evening. This is Zuena Aziz.
Very good evening, ma'am. Thanks for your presence. Maybe we'll be starting very soon. Thank you again.
Good evening. This is Shimul from GED, Planning Commission.
Very good evening, Mr. Shimul. Yeah, so we are really pleased to have you as a guest today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think our chief guest, Miss Zuena Aziz is here. Miss Zuena Aziz is here.
Yes.
Oh, welcome, madam.
Yes.
Glad to see you. Welcome to this conference. We have been waiting for you. And now Dr. Rahman may start. We have been waiting for the chief guest. We can start. Dr. Rahman. Dr. Rahman. Dr. Firdaus?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. So should we start?
You should start, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
May I request all the participants to mute their microphone, and if you need to talk, then only switch on to your microphone. Thank you.
Mr. Alumi, sir, can you hear me? So I'm going to start now.
Yes, sir. I'm hearing you, sir. We are ready.
Thank you so much. Very good evening, all the invited, the speakers, the distinguished guests, my dear colleagues. So today, this is the day we are going to start the national seminar on the food security and the ecosystem management in the COVID-19. And the organizer is the IISS. That means IUBAT Institute of SDG Studies. So we are going to start now. And in the beginning, we'll be playing the national anthem. So please raise. Thank you. We are starting the program, this national seminar, beginning with the national anthem.
আমার সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি চিরদিন তোমার তোমার আমার প্রাণে বাজায় বাঁশি সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি তোমা ফাগুনে তো আমের বনে ঘ্রাণে পাগল করে মনে হায় হায় রে ও মা ফাগুনে তো আমের বনে ঘ্রাণে পাগল করে ও মা ঘ্রাণে তোর ভরা খেতে কি দেখেছি আমি কি দেখেছি মধুর হাসি সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি
Thank you, dear audience. Now I would like to request DRS M. Alumgir Bhuiya to play the IUBAT 6 seasons. So please, I would like to request you to play the IUBAT 6 seasons. Thank you. Mr. Alumgir, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing it, sir.
An environment designed for learning. The International University of Business, Agriculture and Technology, IUBAT, Alimullah Mia, is the founder of the university.
I prepared the first working paper for establishing a non-government university in Bangladesh. The university has the primary mission of human resources development.
The International University of Business, Agriculture and Technology, IUBAT, is the first non-government university in Bangladesh. The environment surrounding the campus is healthy, with scenic beauty on the bank of River Tural. Credit transfer from IUBAT is accepted by all universities throughout the globe. IUBAT is very much concerned for quality education, and as such, classes are conducted by qualified and experienced faculty from home and abroad. Not only Bangladeshi students study here, a number of foreign students are also studying in IUBAT. English is the medium of instruction and communication in IUBAT. To implement this, the university has taken various steps, like all classes are conducted in English. The university has 31 departments under 7 different colleges. Under the College of Business Administration, there are 3 programs: Masters of Business Administration, Bachelor of Business Administration, Diploma in Accounting. Under the College of Engineering and Technology, there are 5 programs: Bachelor of Computer Science and Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Diploma in Computer Science and Engineering. Under the College of Arts and Sciences, the program is Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Under the College of Agricultural Sciences, the program is Bachelor of Sciences in Agriculture. Under the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management, the program is Bachelor of Arts in Tourism and Hospitality Management. Under the College of Nursing, the program is Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Permanent campus on 5.5 acres of land, which has been designed by British architect for a university of the 21st century. Well-equipped laboratories for all programs. IUBAT follows the North American education system. Enriched library and e-library. Wi-Fi covers the entire campus. It has its own playground and indoor game facilities. All students have health insurance, extracurricular activities. IUBAT has a number of buses and microbuses which provide free transport and shuttle services for students and faculty members. Besides the attractive features, IUBAT provides scholarships to meritorious students and financial aid to all students in need.
IUBAT শিক্ষার পরিবেশ মান এবং সার্বিক কার্যক্রমে বেসরকারি বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়গুলোর মধ্যে প্রথম সারির সফল বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় হিসেবে স্থান করে নিয়েছে।
Upon the completion of undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, students are awarded at the convocation. IUBAT aims to make students self-confident and flexible in order to realize their true potential so that they can play key roles in a rapidly changing social and economic environment.
Our goal is to reach out to every village of Bangladesh. There are 87,963 villages. We would like to produce one graduate, at least one graduate from each village of Bangladesh to create the foundation of a knowledge-based society. So we want education to be accessible to every young man and women who feels that they would like to develop a professional career for their personal development, their family development, their community development, and developing their motherland.
So now I would like to request all the audience to follow 1 minute silence for the salvation of the departed soul of late Professor Dr. M. Alimullah Mian, founder and Vice-Chancellor, and late Professor Mahmouda Khanum, Pro-Vice-Chancellor, IUBAT. Dear audience, thank you so much to follow the 1 minute silence. Now, I would like to request Professor Selina Nargis, the Chairperson, RCE Greater Dhaka, and the Executive Director of IISS for her welcome speech. Please welcome Professor Selina Nargis for your welcome speech. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Selina Nargis, Chairperson, RCE Data Dhaka, and Executive Director, IUBAT Institute of SDGs Studies. I have the privilege of offering the welcome address in this national seminar on food security and ecosystem management in COVID-19, organized by the IUBAT Institute of SDGs Studies. First, my heartfelt welcome to our chief guest, Ms. Zuena Aziz, Principal Coordinator of Sustainable Development Goals in the Prime Minister's Office, People's Republic of Bangladesh. Ms. Zuena Aziz is an officer of Bangladesh Civil Service Administration cadre. She started her career in 1986 and held various important and responsible positions during her long career in field administration as well as at the central level of Bangladesh government. Ms. Zuena Aziz joined the Prime Minister's Office as the Principal Coordinator of SDG Affairs on January 1, 2020. Now, I would like to welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar, Convener, Asia Pacific RCE Coordinating Committee and Coordinator and Focal Point of RCE Srinagar, Jammu and Kashmir. RCE is an initiative of United Nations University Institute for the Advanced Study of Sustainability in Tokyo, Japan. Formerly, he was Senior Program Director, Center for Environment Education. He has been promoting education for sustainable development, and his various engagements aim at achieving a sustainable, climate smart and disaster resilient community. Now, I would like to welcome our special guest for the seminar, Dr. Kristofer Johnson, International Consultant and Team Leader, Environment, Forest and Climate Change Unit, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Dr. Kristofer began his career in researching the role of soil carbon in ecosystem functions and atmospheric carbon sequestration. He worked 5 years as a researcher at the US Forest Service before coming to work for FAO in Bangladesh. He currently leads the Environment, Forest and Climate Change Unit, which focus on developing projects that strengthen the country's natural resource base for overall food security. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Monirul, Joint Secretary for Sustainable Development Goals, Prime Minister's Office, Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh. Mr. Monirul is attached to the Principal Coordinator, SDGs Affairs, a high-level post created at the Prime Minister's Office to look after the coordination issues of SDGs implementation. He was involved in the preparation of SDGs mapping of ministry divisions, SDGs data gap analysis of Bangladesh, SDGs need assessment and financing strategy of Bangladesh, voluntary national review of SDGs progress of Bangladesh, national monitoring and evaluation framework of SDGs, and SDGs action plan. Now, I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Amzad Hussain, who is the SDGs coordinator in Bangladesh chapter, adjunct research fellow, and sustainability scholar in Curtin University, Perth, Australia. He is the founder, executive director of SDGs Action Research Center of CIMEC Institute of Technology, Dhaka. Dr. Amzad Hussain is a long-term friend of IUBAT. He led the cooperation and joint program between Murdoch University, Perth, Australia, and IUBAT, Bangladesh on environment. The cooperative programs were carried out under Center for Global Environmental Culture of IUBAT and Institute of Sustainability and Technology Policy of Murdoch University. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Ziaul Haque, Director, Air Quality of the Department of Environment under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. He has been working under different technical wings of the department for more than 24 years. During his long professional career, he has been involved in climate change activities at national and international level, among which preparation and update of climate change related national documents such as the National Communications on Climate Change, National Adaptation Program of Action, Bangladesh Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan, etc. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Suleiman Haidar, Director, Department of Environment, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. I would like to welcome Mr. Nasir Daula, Director, Bangladesh Climate Change Trust. I would like to welcome Mr. Shimul Sen, Senior Assistant Chief, Bangladesh Planning Commission, Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh. My sincere welcome to Professor Dr. Abdur Rab, Vice-Chancellor of IUBAT, for the encouragement to organize this seminar. My special appreciation to the keynote speaker, Dr. Ataur Rahman, Coordinator, RC Greater Dhaka and Director, IUBAT Institute of SDGs Studies. I'm welcoming the organizing team members, Dr. Firdaus Ahmed, Dr. Rehan Dastgir, and Dr. Saima Akter for all-out cooperation. My grateful welcome to my dear students, respected faculties, participants of the program, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence and looking forward for active participation from home and abroad to make the seminar a success. We are immensely benefited to have the outstanding personalities among us. I would like to extend hearty welcome to all the dignitaries of IUBAT, International University of Business, Agriculture and Technology. I wish the seminar a grand success. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, Professor Selina Nargis, for your wonderful welcome speech. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. M. Ataur Rahman, the Coordinator, RC Greater Dhaka, and the Director of IISS. I would like to welcome you for your keynote speech on food security and ecosystem management in COVID-19. Please welcome Professor Ataur Rahman.
Respected Vice-Chancellor Professor Abdur Rab, Chief Guest, Ms. Zuena, Aziz, distinguished guests, speakers, colleagues, staffs, students, and friends from country and abroad. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Before my presentation, I pay my deep tributes to Professor M. Alimullah Mia, who introduced me in sustainable development and ESD in 2008. He introduced me in IPCC special report preparation as a contributing author in 2010 to 2012. Also in Asia Pacific Network and International Geosphere and Biosphere Program in 2011 to 2015. He also introduced me in the Regional Center of Expertise, RCE, in 2011. Also in UF Bangladesh Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms in 2008. Also in Asian monsoon years 2010 to 2014. And we received RCE awards in 2012 to 2019 every year. Now, I am going to share my presentation, ecosystem management, key to reduce climate impacts and food security. Food and ecosystem. Food is the energy and nutrients, and ecosystem is the place where food is produced. For food security, a healthy and functional ecosystem is required. Healthy and functional ecosystems are the places of interaction of biotic and abiotic components, energy transfer through food chain and food web, and nutrient recycling occur smoothly and safely. Ecosystems. Ecosystems may be small, may be large, and some of the ecosystems like lake, bill, house, rivers, forest, mangroves, coastal and marine ecosystems, desert, savanna, hill, and floodplain ecosystems. Some man-managed ecosystems are rural homes, croplands, plantation forests, excavated ponds, parks, etc. Towns and cities are also external food-dependent ecosystems. And these are the food chain where the energy is received from the sun, and they are going to the different organisms and ultimately going to the higher animals and to again decompose the nutrient is going to the soil, water, and air. And this is the food web which involves multiple food chains. Need primary production and ecosystem. Actually, total primary production is 164 billion tons per year. And this most of the coming from tropical zones and temperate zones. And ocean only contribute 41.5 billion tons. And the productivity of ecosystem depends on geographical position, landscape, climatic factors, availability of soil and water, along with biotic components. And global population from 1950, the rate was very high, that is 3.785%. From 2017 to 2050, it declined and it is 0.793. And the estimated population increment is 0.212 for 2100. The factors affecting population distribution is the longitude, altitude, greedy, climate, soil, vegetation, water, and location of minerals and energy resources. The population distribution, you can see the most of the population are in the tropical region, especially in the monsoon region, and also temperate region, the Mediterranean area, where the land is fertile and people can live without any sort of trouble, and they can get the easy food. And the food production also follow the same sequence, mainly the Asian monsoon countries and also the equatorial zone as well as the temperate zone, mainly the Mediterranean zone. And if we see the production of the primary crops is 9.2 billion tons in 2018, which is 50% higher than that of the 2000. Meat production also 47% higher than that of the 2000. Fish production is also 36% higher than that of the 2000. Vegetable production is 100. Vegetable oils production is 108% higher than 2000. And here, the population increment, if we consider from 2000 to 2018, only 24%, but our food production is 50%. Undernourished people was 852 million, and undernourished people in 2018, 820 million. There is no significant difference here, but the obesity is very, very high. It is 2.1 billion. That is the 1/3 of the population, and diabetic is 420. The COVID, the additional hunger will be 135 to 235 million in 2030. The above data proves the food production is not a critical, but nutrients distribution. Nutrients recycling in the ecosystem is the answer to ensure food security. You can see the graph here, the population increment only 24%, but the food production increment were more than 50% from 2000 to 2018. Now, what is the main factor? The main factor is within this time, the main factor is the break of hydrological cycle due to deforestation, agricultural expansion, dams and embankments, and withdrawal of water, and unplanned urbanization, unplanned routes and highways, and these are all made the water table down and less precipitation or less transpiration. So the chain hydrological cycle has breaks, and many of the streams has become dry. And many of the perennial streams, especially in the Chittagong hill tracts, the 70% perennial streams are dry. And damage of river ecosystem and wetlands around Dhaka city. The rivers, Buriganga, Turak, Balu, Shitolakka, Dholeshwari, and the many beels, canals are damaged due to different reason, mainly obstruction of water flows and encroachment and pollution. And the consequences, deadly water is deadly pollution, and productivity is almost zero. And drying up of the rivers in the dry season, and flooding and waterlogging in the monsoon, and recycling and water nutrients is hampered. These are the river network around the Dhaka city, and the Buriganga, Shitolakka, Turak, Dholeshwari, and Balu, and other 26 canals altogether. It is around 6,000 hectare area. So these are mostly inactive and ineffective, and the water quality is not suitable for aquatic life, and recycling and even for agricultural use, construction works, and swimming. Here are some pictures you can see, and the physiochemical parameters regarding total dry dissolved solids, electric conductivity, total alkalinity, total hardness, and fluoride is much higher than that of the WHO standard. And dissolved oxygen is much less, which cannot support the life in these rivers. And regarding the water, regarding the biological parameter, microbiological parameter, total viable content, total coliform, total fecal coliform is much more higher than that of the WHO standard. And loss of services due to damage of river ecosystem around the Dhaka city. And it is, for the water users, it is around 45,990 million Dhaka. And fish production also about 4,777 million. And nutrient loss is about 8,585 million. Besides this, the drainage of water system, damage of infrastructure due to flood and waterlogging, urban and peri-urban agriculture, contamination of the water base and transmission of water diseases, and biodiversity loss are most important. And what is the consequence of the food? What we eat the grains, vegetables, fruits, spices, meat, fish, and oil. They are coming from the fields, farms, forests, wetlands, and ocean. And they are coming to the urban centers. And we are consuming, the animals are consuming here. And most of the waste is going to the latrine and remain with the years together. And sometimes it's overflow and going to the water. It's going to the garbage center. And where it is not recycled and only used for landfill. And also our dead bodies are going to the graveyard, which is also significant. More than 3,000 metric tons dead bodies every year, biomass we are leaving in the graveyards. And the croplands are also, croplands ecosystems are also suffering a lot. The high input paid agriculture, we are using urea, TSP, potassium, magnesium, and the pesticides and herbicides. And we are producing hybrid, mainly hybrid crops, sugarcane, rice, maize, and amaranth, cabbage, many types of vegetables. And their productivity is high, and they are all going to the other industries and also to the towns, cities. And the consequences, they are again going to the latrine, garbage, landfill, and also in the river. And ultimately going to the rivers. The pollutants from the soil also going to the river. And from the industries, the waste, the industrial waste also going to the river, and seldom it is recycled. And impact is huge biodiversity loss, and mostly the earthworm, snakes, and soil degradation. This ecosystem for food, biomass recycling, water sanitation, biodiversity, climate change in SDGs 2030. In SDG 2, SDG 3, SDG 6, SDG 13, SDG 14, SDG 15, these are all directly involved in food security as well as ecosystem management. You can see for FAO, for SDO, sustainable agriculture, the must nurture the healthy ecosystems and support the sustainable management of land, water, and natural resources while ensuring world food security. And also in SDG 15, the protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of the terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage the forest, combat desertification, halt and reverse the land and degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. Actually, in natural ecosystem, there is no waste. By imitating the natural ecosystem, we can boost up our agriculture. More recycling means more agricultural production, lower economic and environmental. Food insecurity and climate change. We know that climate determines the crop adaptation, and local weather determines the crop development. Photosynthesis is responsible for crop productivity. and which is depends on light, temperature, carbon dioxide. So climate change has a very great influence on food security, especially the global warming, extreme weather, and the agro-ecological condition has been changed. We know already global warming, global temperature has increased 1.1 degrees Celsius. Global ocean warming has increased 0.33 degrees Celsius. And glacier melting, the Arctic glacier melting, and sea level rising has already 20 centimeters. And acidification 30%. And heat wave, drought, flood, and these are continuously happening. And plantation forest mainly suffering from wildfire, forest fire, especially in Australia, Europe, and California. But I can mention here that natural forest is not burning, because trees do not allow rapid adaptation to environmental changes. Effects of growth and development, outbreak of pests and diseases, increased storm fires and landslides. Here is the picture of the European heat wave and wildfire. Degradation of ecosystem through agricultural expansion. Destruction of ecosystem, forest, wetlands, landscape, greenhouse gas emission, biodiversity decline, and especially we are use the biased crop animals. Only 3 or 4 animals we are using, and especially the regulatory systems are affected: air quality, water purification, carbon storage, and soil erosion. And that's the climatic adaptation by forced hybridization. GMO resulted in loss of immunity, and high chemical inputs affected microflora and food chain and food web. Irrigation-based agriculture destroying the soil phases, flora, and fauna. These are the examples of how the forests are being damaged in the Chittagong heat threats, and also the mangrove forest. The coastal ecosystem is most important and most fertile ecosystem, and supporting the life and water. And 1/3 of the population are living in the coastal zone. And these are the exposed coastal zone, the red zone, and that is the internal coastal zone. These are affecting every year. And coastal ecosystem, coastal flooding and inundation, deforestation of the mangroves of the natural wetlands, and loss of agriculture in wet monsoon in the coastal zones. These are very, very important. And you can see the picture from the coastal ecosystem, the coastal zone, the flooding, cyclone, and also inundation and flood forecast in 2001. And regarding marine ecosystem, the marine temperature, I told you earlier, has been increased, and the storm behavior and wave behavior has changed. Marine biodiversity is affecting, and the carbon dioxide has been increasing the ocean acidity, as a result creating problems, shell formation of the skeleton formation, coastal species, and also the ocean salinity increases and melting of ice in the coastal, in the Arctic zone. And here is the temperature rise. The land temperature rise is almost 1.8, and the ocean temperature, it is also 0.5. And here is another red signal to us, that is that a dead zone has been discovered. This is 50% area in the Bay of Bengal, and this dead zone has less oxygen, even 0 to 0.03 milligram per liter, where we need at least 5 milligram per liter for the lives. So the ocean life, fish, these are in very vulnerable condition. So need for healthy ecosystem. Ecosystem management can be defined as an integral process to conserve and improve ecosystem health and sustain ecosystem services for human well-being. Healthy ecosystem provides opportunities for sustainable economic prosperity and food security, and providing defense against the negative effect of climate change through human adaptation and behavioral change, as opposed to continuation of degradation. And here is in the right side, the good biodiversity and the ecosystem, where it is the secure ecosystem services and social well-being also. But in the poor biodiversity, there is less ecosystem services, loss of human well-being, and social disruption. So we must follow ecosystem-based adaptation. Now, some ecosystem-based adaptations, that is the restoration of the hydrological cycle, water table and watershed management, restoring forest and wetlands, biodiversity conservation, respecting climate adaptation and safe varieties and species, traditional floodplain management, rural home-centered aggregated farming, agroforestry, agriculture in adverse situation, urban greenery, parks, woodland and garden, urban agriculture, and climate-smart agriculture. And this is the traditional floodplain management we are doing here in thousands of years. It is the increased surface area, excavating the pond and raising the land and growing the plants and the houses. And this is more important, and we are managing the flood there. And rural home-centered aggregated farming is the rural home should have traditional rural home have pond, homestay forest, and house for building. Home is the activity center, most safe and healthy, especially in the COVID season. And cropping fruit, vegetables, spices, bamboo, and fences. And more than 250 species are grown in the food, are found in the one home. And pets and domestic animals, pisciculture, processing, preservation, and plant any wild plants and animals, as well as reuse and recycling of water and other resources. And this is the typical rural home. From home, there is every home has a pond, has a forest, has a dwelling houses. And there are some traditional adaptation practices by climatic manipulation. We can do this. The palm boros is a great example for 1,000 years. And the mound agriculture, every house has the mound agriculture. And now the other mound agriculture here is the concept taken from these, and also floating agriculture. These are the old practices we are practicing here. Now the developed greenhouse gas, greenhouse agriculture, aquaponics, integrated aquaculture, and vertical. These can be adopted for food security. But in conclusion, I can say food security, all ecosystems should be managed properly. Nutrient biomass should be recycled to reduce our rural-urban migration. Rural home-centered aggregated farming should be prioritized with family and social farming concept. And well-planned rural infrastructure development is highly essential. And for social farming, we can visit that link. Thank you for your kind attention. I'm concluding here. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Professor Dr. Abdur Rab, for this keynote speech on the topic today. Now, I would like to invite the next speaker, Mr. Monirul Islam, the Joint Secretary of the Sustainable Development Goals, the Prime Minister Office of the Bangladesh government. So please, Mr. Muhammad Monirul Islam, now you are welcome for your speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me in this national seminar on food security and ecosystem management in COVID-19, jointly organized by the IUBAT and its IISS, I think, IUBAT Institute of Sustainable Development, and also the RCE Greater Dhaka, right? It is indeed a great privilege for me, and I'm honored to hear in this auspicious program. And my thanks goes to my direct boss, the Principal Coordinator SDG Affairs of the Prime Minister's Office, who has given kind consent to be the chief guest in this program. And I also like to thank the Vice-Chancellor of this university and also the keynote presenter, Mr. Abdur Rahman, who has for the several times talked to me, discussed with me, and wanted, actually he was the key person who phoned me several times to be part of this great initiatives of this university. As you know, from the perspective of Millennium Development Goals to the Sustainable Development Goals, the value addition of the global two goals of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Millennium Development Goals, definitely one of the important critics against the Millennium Development Goal was that the issue of sustainability was not there, right? And also the issue of institutions was missing in that MDGs, particularly access to justice, rule of law, human rights, and peace was totally missing. Though the very document, the Millennium Declaration, based on which the MDG was prepared, which was signed by the head of the government and head of the states of the UN member countries. But MDG was concentrated only on poverty and education and some softer forms. But in the Sustainable Development Goals, we have categorically seen the value addition of our MDG to SDGs, the third pillar, social, economic, and environmental. So the third pillar, environmental issues, is particularly very important when we transit from the MDGs to SDGs. And definitely, the government of Bangladesh, from the very beginning of its journey from MDGs to SDGs, it has kept in its minds that yes, in the Millennium Development Goals arena, Bangladesh performed better. Bangladesh could integrate its development policy, particularly the 6th five-year plan at that time, with the core values of Millennium Development Goals. So by implementing the country's own strategy, Bangladesh could implement MDGs and its 6th five-year plan as well. So based on this background, we could start as a front runner in the implementation of SDGs from the very beginning of 2016. And we were lucky in the sense that the timing was very good from our perspective, because we could initiate our 7th five-year plan at the very beginning for materialize the Sustainable Development Goals. So in the current scenario, the seminar arranged by the IUBAT, Food Security and Ecosystem Management in COVID-19. Definitely, food security is a very important issue for a populous country like ours. And definitely, as we can understand, food security has 4 dimensions: availability, accessibility, utilization, and stability. And very interestingly, the 4 components of food security belong to 4 different ministries of our government. For the availability, it is the responsibility of Minister of Agriculture. For accessibility, it is the responsibility of Minister of Food. For stability, it is the responsibility of Minister of Commerce. And utilization, it is the responsibility of Minister of Health and Family Welfare. So 4 dedicated ministry is responsible for the implementation or ensuring food security for a populous country like ours. And for that reason, since multiple ministries are involved, like the SDG itself is a multi-ministry engagement or inter-ministry or inter-goal related issues, the post of the Principal Coordinator SDG Affairs has been created under the Prime Minister's office to have a synergies among the ministries and to get a better synchronization about the implementation of our SDGs. So definitely coordination is an important issue, and Bangladesh from the very beginning, the SDG was adopted in September 2015, and after returning from the General Assembly, Honorable Prime Minister has constituted SDG Implementation and Review Committee, and headed by the then Principal Secretary, and then a new post was created, Principal Coordinator, in the month of November. So within 2 months period, this post and this committee was constituted, considering that not a single ministry will be able to implement even a single goals. So this issue is very prominent in governments and ministries' day-to-day works. It has integrated in annual performance agreement nowadays. Each ministry is in the process of aligning their yearly works, integrating with the SDGs. Definitely you see that for sustainability issue, and particularly the context of this seminar, the food security and ecosystem. For food security issues, the government, the present government is very much committed. You see, ensuring food security not only in the context of availability and accessibility, utilization and stability, considering the 4 dimensions, research and development has been given more strong emphasis, and we are committed that from 0.3% of GDP, we have a plan to increase it to 1% of GDP for research and development. And the important issue, the contribution from the research and development in our country, particularly in the agriculture, is phenomenal, because in 1971, when the country got independence, the total rice production in our country was 10 million metric tons. Though our population was 75 million at the time, the population has doubled or more than doubled by this time, but our total production has more than tripled. So the research and development definitely has a significant contribution behind these phenomenal success stories. Okay, then definitely SDG is not the game of 1 ministry or 2 ministry, or is not the game of the government alone. So government is following the whole society approach and taking cognizance of the government machinery and also the NGO, CSO, private sector, academia, and also something like that. So in the SDG Implementation Review Committee, where the Principal Coordinator is the chair, nowadays we also invite a representative from the private sector, which is represented by the FBCCI chairman, representative from the NGO sector, representative from the development partners, and definitely one thing is missing, that is academia. But we consider private sector and particularly the academia very important players dedicating for the research and development, particularly dealing with the sustainability issue. So we are going to establish a linkage between the policy makers, the professionals, the academia, so that the core values of sustainability, which itself tells about the integration issue, interoperability issue, interdependence issue, one after another. So as a whole government, beyond the whole government, we are following the whole society approach. And definitely the paper which is presented here today, we'll have another 4 or 5 papers to be presented later. all concentrating on the food security and ecosystem management or something like that. I think discussion will be there. The concrete recommendation will be there. And based on the recommendation, I think the university will publish their reports, and based on the research findings, they definitely will publish the research findings, disseminate it. And one of the important demands from our side is that we need a policy prescription, what might be done by the government, what might be taken in the policy inclusion, or we want evidence-based policy decision making. And the government is very much interested to do that. So with a view to doing the evidence-based decision making, we need data, we need evidence. And for that reason, government is interested to have rely not only from its own data system, it also encourages from the private sector, academia, and other professionals who are interested in research and who are also deals with the data or evidence. And if that goes in the core motto of the government, then definitely government is ready to accept the recommendation and try to implement that. And definitely sustainability is not a very simple thing. It's more integrated, more challenging, but government is committed. You see, when the constitution was amended in Article 18A, the issue of the environmental has been incorporated. So sustainability issue is now a commitment from the constitution as well. So in the constitutions, in the election manifesto of the government has committed that yes, the SDG would be implemented by the government, and in the 5-year cycles it has been incorporated. So I think the youth would be one of the important players for ensuring sustainability, and because youth is one of the more innovative youth groups than any other age structure of the country. So particularly the university students, the young people. From the Prime Minister's office, we have arranged one workshop with regard to the involvement of youth. The Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Ministry of Cultures, they have also arranged workshop. What would be the role of youth for implementing the SDGs in a very concrete way? So we are interested to hear from the youths, their role, their responsibilities, their inquisitiveness, their eagerness for development of Bangladesh, and side by side also ensuring that no one should be left behind, which is the core value of sustainability or the aspiration of sustainability. We are hopeful that the participation from the private sector, participation from the academia, researcher, and everybody wholeheartedly will try to ensure for sustainability of our country, the development of the sustainable development, and definitely your recommendation, your suggestion, if that is in line with the policy prescription, we are interested to accept this. By saying this, I just stop my deliberation here, and I wish a success of this seminar. Thank you very much for inviting me, and let me say something in this August gathering. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mr. Monirul Islam, for your very wonderful speech where you mentioned many of the guidelines from your department. So now I would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Ziaul Haque, the Director, the Department of the Environment. I would like to request Mr. Muhammad Ziaul Haque for your speech. So please, you are welcome. So before starting, I would like to say something about Mr. Ziaul Haque. So there is some interesting, experience I have with him. We had been both in South Korea and Malaysia to attend the conferences and the training of the GIR, the greenhouse inventory research. So he was so kind to me. So please welcome Mr. Ziaul Haque for your speech. So this is your time now. So can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chief Guest, the Principal Coordinator of SDG, Prime Minister Office, Ms. Zuena Aziz sir, the respected Vice-Chancellors, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, professors, and particularly the Professor Ataur Rahman, and the moderator, Dr. Firdaus Ahmed, In fact, I obviously acknowledge the contribution of Professor Ataur Rahman. He has been, I understand that he has been the key players in organizing this important national seminar on food security and ecosystem management in COVID-19. So at the outset, let me convey my sincere appreciation and regards to the IUBAT, IISS, and RCE Greater Dhaka for organizing this very important event, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. And we obviously consider what is the importance of ecosystem and the environment with regard to combating the COVID-19 pandemic. And in fact, the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us a fundamental life-changing lessons. The message is very clear and loud. Whatever we do for the purpose of development and prosperity, we must respect the environment, ecosystem, and natural resources and natural balance. And Mr. Monirul Islam has rightly pointed out that when we talk about the sustainable development, the environmental conservation is one of the key pillars out of 3 pillars of sustainable development. So we should not ignore the very essence of environmental conservation and natural balance that we must conserve and maintain while doing everything for the sake of humankind and human beings. Let me come to the point where actually we are talking about in this seminar achieving the food security. And Professor Ataur Rahman has made a comprehensive presentation on the key drivers of environmental degradation, natural depletion of natural resources, and other critical areas. So Ataur Rahman, but when we talk about the food security, we must include not only the self-sufficiency in food in terms of quantity, but it also involves the very aspects of food safety and nutrition. Actually, Professor Ataur Rahman has also touched upon some of the issues related to food safety and nutrition. And in fact, we must acknowledge that we have made remarkable achievements in food production to feed 170 million people of the country. Now, it is my personal opinion, and many experts and the civil society and the government is now actually putting greater emphasis on achieving food safety and nutritional balance. So we have to put this greater attention to these 2 areas, the food safety and nutritional balance. And here the importance of ecosystem, natural resources, biodiversity, and their critical functions come to play to a significant extent. And in that case, I would say that I would mention, since Professor Ataur Rahman has already presented the key drivers, so I would mention one instance that is due to the injudicious use of chemical applications, particularly in agriculture and industry sector, which are causing serious pollution and degradation to soil health, surface and groundwater, as well as air quality. So we understand that they are negatively impacting on achieving food safety and as well as the nutritional balance. And it hampers crop diversification, and it also increases the risk of chemical and heavy metal contamination with crops and food. As we know that the chemicals and the heavy metals can be contaminated through food chains, from soil to crops, and then food, and then human being is intaking the food, and they are also taking the heavy metals in their body. So we have to reduce the exposure to the chemical contamination of crops and food. So there is a great deal of activities that we need to undertake as we move along the process in the future. And at the same time, we all know that climate change and its adverse impacts are also compounding the problems in many folds on these issues. the food security, food safety, as well as the nutritional balance. And we also understand that the government and the non-government actors, they are undertaking several initiatives to promote crop diversification and reduce the application of chemical inputs. So we know some of them, and the government is very serious on those particular issues, particularly some of the ministries and their line agencies are working hard to address those issues. And for instance, on reducing land degradation, we know that one of the key area, we call them the brick making industry, the brick kilns. They are actually one of the key causes of making the land degradation, particularly the degradation of agricultural land. So government is very serious on that. So and in one hand, the brick kilns are actually causing serious air pollution. In the other hand, also actually to produce bricks, they use the fertile crop soil, especially the topsoil. They are mostly fertile. So the government has actually issued a gazette notification that within 2025, all government activities, the construction activities, the roads activities, road construction, building construction, and other infrastructure construction, the government agencies will utilize the block, non-fired block, in place of fired bricks 100% by 2025. So now we are trying to actually increase the demand of block instead of bricks. So at the same time, we are also actually doing
So Mr. Mohammed Ziaul, can you hear me? Did you lose the connection? Mr. Ziaul, we can't hear you. So dear audience, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes,
we can hear you. But
okay, so maybe Mr. Ziaul, lost his connection. It's a matter. Lost his Wi-Fi or the internet. Mr. Ziaul, can you hear me?
Now can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Mr. Ziaul, can you hear us? Hello.
I can hear you.
Okay, now it's
yes,
okay.
I can hear you.
Now it is okay. You can carry on, but just now
right.
You got disconnected. Okay, thank you. You can carry on.
Okay, what I was saying on some of the government initiatives that that the government is undertaking to address some of the issues that we are talking about. In fact, to reduce the land degradation and to reduce the pollution from the industries and to address the plastic waste management. At the same time, as we understand that the plantation and the coastal afforestation are actually contributing to a greater extent on the climate change impacts, as well as to restore the deliberation. So we feel that whatever we are doing now, we should consider that it should in line with the natural balance. So we have to consider which elements are nature-based solutions that can be implemented through our development projects. So I hope that some of the
Mr. Ziaul, could you please turn off your camera? It's still buffer.
All right.
Request.
Yes, I have turned. Yeah, I have turned
maybe
on
you have some webcam. If you turn off the webcam, so in that cases, maybe we'll be able to listen you clearly. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Mr. Ziaul.
okay. So actually what I was telling about some of the government initiatives that the government and the other non-government agencies are undertaking to address this very issue on achieving the food security, food safety, and other issues. And we understand that whatever we do as development activities, we have to consider the natural balance and the very elements of nature-based solution. So this is the bottom line that I would like to share with you. So thank you very much, Dr. Firdaus Ahmed, and the honorable chief guest and the special guest and the professors, the teachers of IUBAT, IISS, and RCE Center Dhaka. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Mr. Mohammad Ziaul Haque, the Director, Department of Environment, for your inspirable speech. From her, we really came to know a lot about the global pandemic, how to address this, the coronavirus and the COVID-19 to augment or escalate the food security level following the sustainable ecosystem management. Thank you. So now I would like to invite the next speaker, Mr. Mohammad Sulaiman Haider, the Director of the Department of the Environment. Mr. Mohammad Sulaiman Haider, Director of the Department of the Environment. You are most welcome for your speech. Thank you. Can you hear me? Sulaiman Haider. Our next speaker, can you hear me, from the Department of the Environment? I'm sorry, maybe he's not there, or I don't know, maybe he's stuck with his Wi-Fi, maybe. So can I request the next speaker, Dr. Nasir Daula, the Director from the Bangladesh Climate Change Trust. Dr. Nasir Daula, can you hear me, please?
Yes, this is.
Okay, thank you so much. So if you don't mind, so could you please start your speech now?
Can you see me?
I can't see you. Could you please share your webcam, turn on your webcam?
Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to say a few words.
Yes, sure,
on
please.
Climate change and food security. First of all, I would like to convey my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Mr. Dr. Ataur Rahman for his nice presentation. I would like to say a few words on food security and climate change. Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Chief Guest, Principal Coordinator, SDG Affairs, Prime Minister's Office, Mrs. Zuena Aziz Madam, Honorable Guest of Honor, Honorable Special Guest, Honorable Coordinator, Dr. Mohammad Ataur Rahman, Honorable Speaker, Mr. Mohammad Monirul Islam, Joint Secretary, SDG Affairs, Prime Minister's Office, Mr. Ziaul Haque, Director, DOE, other speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Securing world food security in light of the impact of climate change may be one of the biggest challenges we face in this century. Rising temperatures, more intense droughts, floods, and greater weather variability all mean productivity losses to crops and livestock. Greater number of crop failures, livestock deaths, forest fires, and damage to fishery infrastructure are already imposing economic losses and undermining food security. Impacts of climate change can influence the whole food supply chain and all four dimensions of food security, namely availability of food from domestic production and imports, access to resources for producing or buying food, stability of food supply, utilization of food. In parallel, growing energy demand is adding additional strain and could compete with food security objectives. As importance to bioenergy is growing, the challenges and opportunities posed by biofuels in view of the world's food security, energy and sustainable development needs to be addressed. To ensure food security, a nation, family or individual needs regular access to adequate food resources. The concept of food stability represents the accessibility and availability to food. Climate uncertainty is an important aspect in a constant food supply. For example, the expected improvement in rate and asperity of intense events such as flooding and droughts can create significant changes in crop and local food resources. Bangladesh is widely recognized to be one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world and will become even more so as a result of climate change. It experiences frequent natural disasters which cause loss of life, damage to infrastructure and economic assets, and adversely impacts on lives and livelihoods, especially of poor people. Floods, tropical cyclones, storm surges, and droughts are likely to become more frequent and severe in the coming years. Many would say that the signs of the future changes have already begun to countries where climate change compounded with poverty has exacerbated the impacts. Honorable Chairperson, in order to address the challenges posed by climate change, it is necessary to examine the factors contributing to climate change and how such influence food production globally. Climatic factors like precipitation, evaporation, humidity, and sunshine duration form the basis for improvement of food security. There is need for policymakers, communities, and aid providers to incorporate evidence-based technologies in food systems and knowledge. Evidence-based technologies are those that have empirically been tested and used. Honorable Chairperson, the vision of the government of Bangladesh is to eradicate poverty and achieve economic and social well-being for all the people. This will be achieved through a poor climate change management strategy which prioritizes adaptation and disaster risk reduction and also addresses low carbon development, mitigation, technology transfer, and mobilization and international provision of adequate finance. Government of Bangladesh, we all know that Government of Bangladesh has formulated Bangladesh Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan 2009. The Climate Change Action Plan is built on 6 pillars. One of them is food security, social protection, and health to ensure that the poorest and most vulnerable in society, including women and children, are protected from climate change, and that all programs focus on the needs of this group for food security, safe housing, employment, and access to basic services, including health. The country is striving to accelerate economic growth and substantially eradicate poverty, but avoiding the harsh environmental price many countries have paid in the pursuit of growth. The vision of the government of Bangladesh regarding management of climate change for uninterrupted and sustainable development is an integral part of the Vision 2021. Very briefly, it is to eradicate poverty, increase employment opportunities, ensure food security, provide access to energy and power, and achieve economic and social well-being of all citizens of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change will exacerbate many of the current problems and natural hazards of the country faces. It is apprehended that climate change will lead to increasingly frequent and severe tropical cyclones, heavier and more erratic rainfall, higher river flows, river bank erosion, increased sedimentation, melting of the Himalayan glaciers, lower and more erratic rainfall, warmer and more humid weather. Each of these changes is likely to seriously affect agriculture, crops, livestock, and fisheries. Although agriculture now accounts for only 20% of this GDP, over 60% of the people depend on agriculture directly or indirectly for their livelihoods. The higher temperatures and changing rainfall patterns, coupled with increased flooding, rising salinity in the coastal belt, and droughts are likely to reduce crop yields and crop production. IPCC estimates that by 2050, rice production in Bangladesh could decline by 8% and wheat by 32%. The 2019 United Nations Climate Change Conference, also known as COP25, is the 25th UNFCCC conference. It was held in Madrid, Spain on December 2019 under the presidency of the government of Chile. Before this, at COP21 in Paris on December 2015, parties to the UNFCCC reached a landmark agreement to combat climate change and to accelerate and intensify the action investment needed for a sustainable low carbon future. The Paris Agreement's central aim is to strengthen the global response to the threat of climate change by keeping a global temperature rise this century well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level, and to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Bangladesh will face significant challenges in near future in terms of climate change, which will severely hamper the steady economic and industrial growth of the nation. As the country approaches towards the goals of sustainable development, SDG continues its success in achieving the sustainable development goal. Finding effective solutions for climate change impact on food security is crucial. It is predicted that floods will be frequent along with cyclones and droughts. This will harm the economy and the health of the citizens. The process of revision of BCC SAP 2009 is under process and it will be finalized very soon. Therefore, it is essential to revise the climate change strategy and action plan to incorporate scientific, evidence-based and need-based strategies into the system to build resilience against food security challenges. Thanks a lot for patience hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nasir Daula, for your informative speech. As you mentioned, it's all about the IPCC industrial activities. Okay, thank you so much. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Shimul Sen, the Senior Assistant Chief from the Planning Commission. Shimul Sen, please, you are welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Thank you. So
Thank you.
You can proceed.
Thank you. Respected Chief Guest of today's seminar, Ms. Zuena, sir, Principal Coordinator.
Mr. Shimul, you got muted. Please unmute your mic. We can't hear you. Please.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay now. Thank you.
Okay.
Now it's okay.
Okay. Thank you. Respected Chief Guest of today's seminar, Ms. Zuena, sir, Principal Coordinator, SDG Affairs. Respected Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Abdur Rab, sir, Pro-VC, Dr. Hamida Akter Begum, ma'am, distinguished guest of honor, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar, Gangwar, respected special guest, Dr. Kristofer Johnson and Mr. Monirul, sir, Chairperson RCE Greater Dhaka, Selina Nargis, ma'am, and Dr. Ataur Rahman, sir. Distinguished guests and participants, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum and a very warm evening. I am truly honored to be here at the National Seminar on Food Security and Ecosystem Management in COVID-19 organized by IUBAT Institute of SDG Studies and RCE Greater Dhaka. Mr. Monirul sir has already discussed the concept of SDGs and how government is working on and following the whole of society approach in implementing the SDGs. So I'll be very brief and I will just concentrate on what government of Bangladesh is doing in implementing the SDGs, as I am from GD, and as you know that GD is entrusted to prepare all sorts of long-term, short-term and mid-term planning and strategies, and also looking after the global agendas like MDGs and SDGs. So I'll be very brief and we'll focus on only the policy issues, what government have done so far. First of all, we have, sir already mentioned that we have incorporated the SDGs in our own national development plan, that is 5-year plan. We have incorporated the SDGs in our 7th 5-year plan, which is already completed in June 2020. After June 2020, from July 2020, we have started the implementation of 8th 5-year plan. Here I want to mention that Bangladesh is in the process of actually preparing the 8th 5-year plan because of COVID-19 pandemic, we have already lagged behind for 6 months. We didn't complete it yet. We are just approaching to the finalization of the drafting. So we are trying to capture the SDGs issues in the 8th 5-year plan. And accordingly, the last 5-year plan will be 9th 5-year plan for the SDG period. So we want to implement SDG through our 5-year plan, and accordingly, we incorporated all the things in the 5-year plan. And after that, we have prepared SDG mapping. You know, why it is needed? SDG mapping is needed to actually identify who will do what. We all know that everyone's job is nobody's job. So we have to identify the role of the ministries and who will do what. So we have mapped the SDG by targets. Then we have prepared the data gap analysis. You know that the lack of data is the most challenging part of, for all the countries, not only for Bangladesh. For all the countries, lack of data is a great challenge. So we have analyzed data gap, and we found that only in 2017, we found that only 17 data were available in our system. And now at present, almost 128 to 130 data are available, SDG related data are available in our system. And after that, we have prepared SDG monitoring and evaluation framework to monitor the SDG progress. We have prepared it in 2017, but in 2020, we have revised it as per the update of the indicators. And from GD, from government side, we have all prepared as a need assessment and financing strategy, where we wanted to show how much money will be needed to implement the SDGs and from where it will come. And we found that about $928 billion will be needed additionally to implement the SDGs. So we have already identified the sources as well. Next, we have prepared the SDG action plan for the government sector, where we try to identify how to achieve the targets, what types of projects, programs will be taken to implement the SDGs. As Monirul sir mentioned that we are following the whole of society approach. We have engaged the NGO sectors, we have engaged the CSOs, we have engaged the private sectors. They are also trying to prepare their own action plan, but unfortunately, we didn't do much to incorporate the universities, academias in implementing the SDGs. So I think this seminar will be the way to how to engage the universities in implementing the SDGs with the government sectors. So after that, we have prepared the SDG progress report in the 2018 for the very first time, and in 2020 we have prepared the second SDG progress report, where we have tried to show the progress so far made in implementing the SDGs. And also, despite all our success, we are currently hit by the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic since March 2020. We have already started the preparation to control and contain the COVID-19 incidences based on the National Preparedness and Response Plan. A comprehensive emergency response plan has also been adopted, embracing important health and socio-economic recovery measures. The socio-economic effects of COVID-19 will undoubtedly impede the global journey to Agenda 2030, and Bangladesh is not out of that. We are trying to have our own strategy to absorb the shock of COVID-19 in our next 5-year plan, that is 8th 5-year plan. We have provided proper emphasis on food security, and also a dedicated chapter on environment are in the 5-year plan, is also incorporated in the 5-year plan. And we are now working on how to localize the SDGs, especially in Upazila and Zilla level. Local government will have to have their own SDG action plan. For this, we are piloting in 8 Upazilas by this year. And actually, by next year, we are going to organize several seminars and workshops with the universities and academias. In this case, we need your suggestions, recommendations on how to enhance the engagement of the universities in implementing SDGs. I will not consume more time. I want to stop here and waiting to enjoy the paper presentations. Thank you for patience hearing, and thank you for inviting me in such a great platform. Thank you all.
So thank you, Mr. Shimul Sen, for your very much informative speech in this session. So now I would like to request Professor Amzad Hussain from Curtin University, Australia. Now, I would like to invite Professor Amzad Hussain from Curtin University, Australia. We are very much eager to listen from you since we know that you have the long expertise on the sustainability issues. So you are most welcome in this session. Professor Amzad Hussain.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
How can I come to the screen?
Okay. Do you want me to share your, PowerPoint presentation here?
Yes, I.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I have, so I can. Okay, so please give me, a few moments. Already I have.
Can you see me?
I can't see you, Professor Amjad. We can't see you. So could you
How
please,
can I show my face to you?
could you please turn on your camera properly? So
camera is on.
Yeah. So left hand side, the bottom. Yeah, it's okay now. It's fantastic.
Okay now,
yes,
is it?
Professor Amjad, we can see you now.
Right. How can I share my screen? Video?
Okay.
My file from.
Yeah. In the bottom, the mid, in the blue color, green color, share screen. Can you see this?
Yes,
that button?
yes. Oh, right. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And if you are unable, oh yeah, we can see now. Thank you.
You can see now, but I can see my screen.
So please maximize your file.
And it is.
Yeah, top of the right corner, maybe. If you check top of the right corner, then maybe you will be able to maximize this, PPT.
Where's my file?
For those, why don't you do it? That would be convenient.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, thank you, Abdhesh. So, Professor Amjad, I can share it. Share your file. I have. So, could you please stop? Yeah. Okay, just wait a moment. I can share it.
I have got my file here from my file, but not from.
Yeah, it's okay now. We can see.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, we can see
all
now.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. So please, you can carry.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Chief Guest, Ms. Zuena Aziz, Chief Coordinator, Bangladesh SDG Affairs, and Prime Minister Office, Dhaka. Professor Ataur Rahman, Professor Abdur Rab, Vice-Chancellor, IUBAT, distinguished guests, speakers, and participants, good evening and Assalamu alaikum. I am Abdur Rab speaking from Curtin University, Perth, Western Australia. I am delighted to be a participant in this national seminar on food security and ecosystem management in COVID-19. So far I have learned and I have heard from other speakers, no one has focused on COVID-19. I don't know whether my presentation will be a sort of odd one out. I don't know. However, I am just focusing on the lessons learned from COVID-19, food security and ecosystem management globally and locally. Probably we all know and understand that food security and ecosystem management go hand in hand and exist in a synergistic relationship. If food security is insecure or unsustainable, that means there is something wrong with the ecosystem. And conversely, if ecosystem is healthy, we can assume that food security should prevail. How can I go to next slide? Sorry.
Is it okay, Prof? I already changed. Now you can see the next slide. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So COVID-19, what is COVID-19? It is not mentioned in our current stock of literature on sustainable development, ecosystem management, or food security, because it has come later. It has just emerged last year or this year, I should say, and it has emerged as a phenomena of unknown phenomena. Actually, nobody ever seen it before. And it has, during the last few months, it has impacted on the whole world in terms of its mortality capacity and damaging people's health in an immense way, in a serious way. And so far, there is no answer to it. There is no medical solution, no scientific, no surgical, no even technological fixes to address this pandemic corona. So in this situation, being the world people in search of confusion, now everybody is trying to believe that it is some divine intervention or supernatural phenomenon against human transgression, unkind transgression towards towards exploitation of limited resources, natural resources, including the ecosystem, ecosystems. We know that most of the natural resources, that is, except the sunshine and free-flowing air, everything on this earth or in this world, in nature, is limited by its measure, by its carrying capacity, and by its regenerating capacity. And when, as ecosystem or the nature is a living being like us, they also need food. They also need sort of leisure, sort of everything what human needs, because they are also living being in the ecosystem. So when, like human like us, when we are in trouble or when somebody is unkind to us, we want to take revenge. Same is the case with this nature. Nature has the capacity to bite back, and the bite back in terms of sort of floods, droughts, and diseases like malaria or cholera and other pandemics. And lastly, we have been, this year, it has been COVID-19, which is a sort of super devastating virus. However, as we know that things are limited in their measure, and this has been revealed in our scripture, in almost in all scripture, particularly in the Quran. It says several times that the natural resources are limited, and when corruption appears with human and by human, they take revenge, and take revenge so that people can understand that they are wrong and they can turn back to their to our normal situation. Can you please go to next slide, please? So this COVID-19 has taught us many things, particularly few things in terms of food habit and physical distancing, lockdown, hand wash, face mask, etc. All these are not medical solution. These are actually religious solution which was revealed or which was actually known to people 1500 years ago by one of our prophet, that in time of crisis, people should do these 4 things. And somehow the world view has accepted these 4 things now, and we are getting a lot of benefit. Actually, not only benefit, we are safe if we adhere to this provision of face mask, hand wash, physical distancing, and lockdown. So as these are very effective and fruitful, the world view has made it as a new normal lifestyle. And as Corona is going to stay, everybody is saying, is not going to go soon. So these 4 things should be included or integrated in our culture, future culture, which the world academia is calling it New World Culture. So in this New World Culture, actually 2 things are included. One is outer, another is inner. The outer thing is, say modest lifestyle and simple dietary habits, and physical work, and spiritual and inner things are spiritual exercises, responsibility, moral education, etc., etc. So please go to the next file. Yeah. So in terms of, as I said, that food habit is a very basic thing, or food consumption, and food consumption and production is the root for sustainability of ecosystems as well as food security and food security and ecosystem. So the food has got a lot of food eating habits has a lot to do with our food security and ecosystem sustainability. So you can see from the health benefit of watered rice, that means the plant-based food. Food is produced in this, we produce food in 2 ways. One is plant-based, another is meat-based. The meat-based food habit, can you please go to the next slide, please? Meat-based food habit is not sustainable, but this plant-based food habits and plant-based foods like Pantabat is very much effective for addressing this pandemic COVID-19. And there are a lot of researches. In the last slides, I have given some references, and in this slide, from this references, I have mentioned one, which has been done by Bangladesh government, and they found that Pantabat is much more. Pantabat is part of just normal rice, but soaked in the water for some time when it is fermented. When it is fermented, its sodium, iron, potassium, sodium, everything are increased by many folds. And another unique thing is produced in generated in Pantabat is strengthening body immunity, that is antibody, which is most important for addressing corona. In meat or animal protein, there is no antibody elements. Please go to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. No. Earlier one, sorry. Yes. So how food security is linked to the food habit, like food habit and food consumption habit, like panthabhat and meat consumption. You can see from here that with meat consumption, we need to feeding livestock, and feeding livestock alone claims 70% of all agricultural land, 70% of all water withdrawn, and it also takes 10 times more energy than producing plant-based rice, plant-based food. And because of the fossil fuel energy emissions, there is a problem with climate change, global warming, etc., etc. So meat consumption habit of meat consumption has all the evils. And if we want to give everyone in this world the consumption like we do in Australia, America, and New Zealand, if we want to give that sort of consumption habit to everyone, we need another 4 planets. On the other hand, if we go for the plant-based food like rice and vegetables, like the Bangladesh people are eating, we only take minimum footprint, that is footprint is 0.6 hectare per person, and compared to Asia 1.8 hectare, 2.65 hectare for the world, and 8.3 hectare for Australia. So we can see that with this meat consumption habit, we need 4 planets. On the other hand, with the diet, with the panthabhat type or vegetarian type of food consumption, we can feed this 21 billion people at this time. And Bangladesh dietary culture, if applied globally, yes, it would feed about 21 billion people. And that's why Gandhi rightly said one time that the earth has enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So as I said, that food security and ecosystem go hand in hand and exist in synergistic. Earlier one, please. Earlier one before. Yes. That ecosystem management is very, very complex thing. Dr. Abdur Rahman explained it very well, and other speakers also explained it very well. Next one, please. What is changing? Next one. Next one, please. Yes, yes, this one, yes. Please keep on this one. So ecosystem health has got a lot of indicators. For Bangladesh, ecosystem health is good when you can see that nodi bhara jal, pukur bhara mas, mat bhara fosol, goal bhara goro, etc. When that sort of thing exists in the past and exists in the past, and if it exists in the future, then we can see, we will be able to tell that Bangladesh ecosystemically healthy. And for this, to keep this ecosystem healthy for Bangladesh and for the world, not only our academics and wisdom people said, also Ziaul philosopher has come with some ecosystem management philosophy, which is Goriya Chenshai Ebhubon Kishundar Korea, Jakhane Ja Lage Tai Dia. How beautifully the Creator has built up this earth, providing things at their right places. This one is not only, it is not only in the Ziaul philosophy. Ziaul philosophy has taken this from the Quranic revelation in Surah Ar-Rahman, which says that you will not find any wrong ever in the creation. And the another in Ziaul song says that a পৃথিবী যেমন ছিল তেমনই ঠিক রবে সুন্দর এই পৃথিবী ছেড়ে চলে যেতে হবে. This So this meaning of this rightly fit with the definition of sustainable development. Sustainable development definition says that it is the development that meets the demand of the future needs of the future generation and keep this earth sustainable or workable for the future generation to meet their own demand. And this, in this line, this song has been expressed this in a very good way, that we are obliged to leave this earth as it was. And how we do that, that is Lalan Phukir said, Sotto bolo supothe cholo ole amar mon. That means speak the truth and go on the right path. In my conclusion, so all I can say that if we want to prevent corona with our food habit and lifestyle, then we'll have to take our U-turn in our lifestyle and food habit. And taking U-turn, people can say that it is not possible to change our habit overnight, but I say that it is possible, because in case of our disease like cholesterol, heart disease, blood pressure, diabetes, etc., overnight we can change our food habit. And in the Muslim world, overnight they can change their food habit at the sight of moon in the month of Ramadan. So with all this, please go to please next, please. Next slide, please. Hello. Yes. All these things we can say that a restoration of our lost sustainable development and the lifestyle in the past in terms of achieving SDGs, we need to demonstrate some SDG model projects everywhere, or particularly every district. Shimul Sen has said that, and other speakers have said that we need to implement SDGs, and already we have done. We have established some SDG model projects. One in Pabna, one in Panchagod, and at this is Saben Yasmin's area. One in North Dhaka, another in
we can't hear you. Okay now. Okay now.
And then going on Moymanching, and eventually, actually to achieve SDGs, we need to establish or need to demonstrate SDG model projects everywhere or every district. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you so much, Professor Amzad from Curtin University, Australia. So now we are going to start the very special session for the paper presentation. So we have 4 paper presenters today, Dr. M. Rehan Dastagir, Professor Dr. Mihir Kumar Roy, Dr. Abdul Salam, and Dr. Saima Akter. So this is my humble request to all paper. So please, I'd like to request you to maintain the time because our which is working. So now I would like to request Dr. Rehan Dastagir to start your paper presentation here. Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Rehan Dastagir.
Okay. Okay. Honorable chief guest and the respected guests, good evening and all the audience. I'm going to present my research paper, and here you see that the title of the paper is The Decadal Changes of Soil Fertility in Bangladesh and Modeling Soil Survey Data. And you know that we have some of ideas about that what is the soil fertility have changed over the decades, but there was no quantified model still exist about what is the type of change happened over the decades. So this is one of the things that we didn't have any model. And also the thing is that there is no special data analysis. You know that now is the time is the data science, the time of the data science. So the agriculturalists all over the world are using the approaches of the data science, the statistical methods, and analyze the data. And I've been working on the soil survey, soil science and soil survey just nearly 1 decade. And I have found that a significant amount of data exists with the Bangladesh Soil Research Development Institute, and I conduct this research. I'd like to start my presentation from the FAO Director General Ku Dongyo, who said that the soil is the mother of agriculture and the mother of life. And I think I don't need to explain this anymore. You all know about this, but not always we realize that how important soil is. But the thing is that the intensive agricultural of the monoculture, fertilizer use and pesticides, and the extensive in agricultural practice, the soil health has been deteriorated a lot. So we need to be careful about this. Soil and SDG. Soil have a significant connection with SDG. This infographic I have been collected from the FAO webpage. Here you see that the goal, SDG goal 3, good health related to soil, because you need nutrition. 2, zero hunger. We need the crop production and the nutrition come from the soil. SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. Soil is the best filter of the world. SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, healthy communities depend on the sustainable soil. SDG 12, sustainable consumption and production also depend on soil. And SDG 13, climate action, because the soil is the one of the major reservoir of carbon. So if you can manage the proper soil, we can mitigate the climate problem. Nearly a quarter of the climate problem can be solved by just managing the soil properly in the agricultural practices. Okay, let me discuss something about my research. This is a collaborative project of IUBAT and SRTI. It is under the Ministry of Agriculture, Bangladesh. And it was funded by the MIA Research Institute for the last 1 year. This study finds the change in soil fertility status, and because there was no data science related work have been done in Bangladesh regarding the soil survey. So I tried to start the database approach, data driven approach for quantifying the models. Is there any model available? Can we find any model, significant model that could quantify the data, or can we study the correlations among the various macro and micronutrients? That was my effort. The methodology I use here is the spatial data analysis. I try to analyze the data point by point where the soil survey has been conducted in different profiles of the soil. 3 upazila has been selected: Manikganj Shodor, Faridpur Shodor, and Monohordi Norsingdi. A total sampling point nearly 180. This 180 point soil profile dig and different parameters have been studied. Soil survey has been done nearly in 1990s and 2010. In this time, nearly in the gap of nearly 20 years, countrywide, detailed soil survey has been done. So there was an extensive database available. So I was studied, and the statistical method used here, ordinal logistic regression, and the software is R programming. So the results, the model found significant goodness of fit of chi-square. The value is 0.8, and the coefficient of determination, that's the R square value, was 0.065 parameters. Tell us. Details of the findings need few weeks. I need a few weeks. I need few because the work has been interrupted due to the corona situation. Various nutrient interaction model interaction was determined in the correlation matrix. Suppose this is one of the soil nutrient correlation matrix. Here we see that the zinc, calcium, magnesium, copper, what is their interactions, how they interact, is there any change of interactions happened in the last few decades? I hope that this research will have some result and give us some insight, because the nutrient interaction is one of the very key question of the soil, because if we don't know the nutrient interactions, how could we give fertilizer? Another aspect is the legacy phosphorus. When the solution lies in the problem, last has been applied, but many of the phosphorus being present in the soil. Can we use the excess phosphorus use it as a fertilizer? We can use the deep-rooted plants, but before that, we need a survey. We have the data. We want to quantify data and especially analyze the distributed data, so that we can know that these are the region of Bangladesh where the soil phosphorus have an additional amount, so we can use this soil phosphorus without being additional fertilizer, because we want to sustainable soil management always discourage the addition of excess fertilizer. Anyway, due to time constraint, I'm unable to show the many of my research results, and I hope that a healthy soil for a healthy planet and a sustainable world. Thank you very much for your patient attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahman, for your nice presentation. Now I
We can't hear you, Feroz. We don't hear you.
Yeah.
শম্ভু কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে না কেন? শম্ভু দেখে দেয় তো। শম্ভু কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে না কেন আমার? তাড়াতাড়ি আয়। আচ্ছা, আমার শব্দ শোনা যাচ্ছে না কেন? আমার কথা বলছে না। 200 চলছে, আমি তো কথা শুনতেছিলাম। কি এই যে বললাম তো শোনা যাচ্ছে না কেন? হ্যালো
Sir, we can hear you.
Have you heard me?
Yep, we are hearing, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you all. I am Professor Kumar. Respected audiences of this interesting seminar on food security and ecosystem management in COVID-19, with special reference to the SDGs, goal 2, goals 13, goals 14, and goals 15. Have you heard me?
Yes, sir. We are hearing, sir.
I am congratulating the organizer of this seminar, especially Professor Dr. Abdur Rahman, Director IISS and Coordinator RCEs, Greater Dhaka IUBAT, inviting me as a guest speaker of this interesting seminar. of this interesting seminar. I have very closely listening to the presentation of Professor Amzad from the Australia, and virtually he has presented his paper, especially on the COVID issues, which is the most important topic of this today's seminar. And the discussions that was made earlier by many of the authors, they have given little emphasis on the COVID issues, that the food security and ecosystem management, what is the impact of the COVID situation, especially on these two issues, etc. You have already heard that the COVID-19 is not, it is now a global problem, and it affected throughout the world, developed, developing, least developed, and the poor countries as a whole. Especially it has first shown in the last December in China, then it flies to Iran, then from Iran it flies to Italy, from Italy it flies to UK, then it flies to the United States of America, then it flies to our subcontinent, especially the South and Southeast Asia, etc., etc. And we have found first COVID bearing a man who flies from Italy to Bangladesh, who is the man of Shariatpur. And from then the COVID infection especially started in our country, etc. And gradually the government started taking programs from March 20, probably 26, regarding the COVID issues and etc. etc. And during the last 8 months, we are especially looking about the issues of the COVID problem. It has created two challenges to us. One is the health risk, and another is the livelihood risk, etc. If you get the today's data regarding the, if you go to the today's data regarding the COVID issue, especially with reference to the Bangladesh, till now from today, the affected people are 4.38 lakhs. Recovered 3.58 lakhs, and that is 6,275 of the data given from the Department of Health, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. And we are found that it is now increasing because is now in the winter. We are going to be enter to be in winter season, and winter this is spreaded, and we are from the 2 or 3 days last, we are sensing that it is increasing from the media and other etc. etc. So it has created problems from the health side and also from the livelihood side. So our presentation discussion with this concentrated not only on the health sector but on the livelihood risk with special reference to SDGs goal. The SDGs goal number 2, reducing hunger. Bangladesh will move from LDCs to DC by 2024. In the meantime, Bangladesh has fulfilled 3 criteria. One is per capita GDP, 2064 US Markin dollar, economic breakdown is 25%, and HRD 72.9%, etc. Now, poverty is very much related to hunger. Now, as per the government document, the poverty situation was 2.5%. That is the people below the poverty line. But the COVID situation raised this percentage from 25 to 40. And according to various research studies, it has shown that, especially the BIDS, PPRC, CPD, they told that it raised from 25 to 40% of the poverty people, etc. Poverty people, etc. That means the hunger is very much related to poverty and also related to the food security, etc. So as per the definitions of the food security, it has 4 components, etc. Food availability, food access, food utilization, and food stability, etc. So within the COVID situation, Bangladesh is very much fortunate because it has enough food security in the country, especially Bangladesh is third in the world in fish production. Bangladesh is fourth in the rice production in the world. Bangladesh fifth in the goat meat production. Bangladesh is seventh place in the mango production. Bangladesh is third in the vegetable production, and Bangladesh is third in the leather export and jute export, etc. So in that case, we are very much fortunate, and if possible, we can also export our rice to those countries who are seriously affected by COVID, etc., as our Prime Minister also declared some this earlier, etc. But one thing is legacy is that so long we are in a better position regarding the food security, but what is the market situation that we are finding, etc. Due to the impact of the COVID situation, probably our poverty level is nearly 25 to 40% of the people lives below the poverty line. If you go to the market situation, the market is jumped, etc., especially the rice, vegetables, meat, etc., etc., etc. And it has a very bad impact on the people, those who are the fixed income earner, and fixed income earner. So though we are reached food security, but ultimately due to the COVID situation, the prices of food increased tremendously. Food means a balanced food. That means meat, egg, fish, rice, vegetables, etc., etc. So our PM's vision of 2001 to be recognized as an LDC, from 2004 as a developing country, 2030 free from hunger, and 2041 as a developed countries. And government has best to face the situation, etc., etc. Now, one thing is that due to the COVID situation, as a result of, because this seminar is very much concentrated on the impact of COVID on the food security and the ecosystem management. So during the COVID situation, the last 8 months, our observation is that the government is tremendously trying to face the situation. So its administrative mechanism, so its financial packages, etc. And we are in a better position as compared to the other countries like India, etc., etc., etc. We are in a better position, especially the government mechanism that works in our country, etc. Still then, the COVID or the corona is a virus, and still now no such medicine is available at the disposals of the people, and we have to follow some preventive measures, as for example, social distancing, as for example, mask in the then washing hands with the Dettol, etc., etc. We are following some preventive measures, etc. So these are not sufficient to tackle as such the COVID situation if we do not get the vaccine in a due time. Still then, food security, in respect to food security, we are in a very better position than the other countries of the other sector. Then we come to the issues of the SDG 13, then we come to the 13, that is climate change, etc. Take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact, etc. And Bangladesh is a disaster-prone country, and we are tremendously facing hazard, river erosion, cyclones, droughts, tornadoes, cold waves, etc., etc. Climate change increases the frequency of such events like drought. It is 14 to 80%. Flood affected 34 to 48% people. Waterlogging, etc., affecting 3.80% people. Cyclone affecting 21%, 31 people. Tornado affecting 4.114 people. Tidal surge affecting 8.61 people. Tremendous storm affecting 14.9% people, etc., etc. So these are the very disaster-prone area, and the government is facing seriously to face the situation, preparation of rough weather in the bay, increased number of floods, etc. They're facing, etc. The government measures, especially the Bangladesh Climate Change and Strategy and Action Plan to 2009 to 2018, government has earmarked 6 thematic areas and 40 programs and 145 actions, etc. regarding food security, safety, conservation, infrastructure, research, development, etc., etc. The government measure regarding climatic change, it needs some huge investments, especially in those areas. Though it's a global issue, and Bangladesh is also a member of the international organizations or internal agencies of the climate change organ. So still then, we are, especially the year of 2020 is a very bad year for the whole country, whole world, not only Bangladesh. It is a bad year for the whole world. And especially in case of Bangladesh, we are best sufferers, especially to 2020. And we have faced many tremendous cyclone, tornado, etc., in our coastal belt area, especially. The damages are agriculture, fruits, etc. Many and eroded away many of the coastal belt, south, western south, Bangladesh, etc. The government is facing through its institutional mechanism, and COVID is now an added factor, especially in handling this disease, etc. The key challenges for facing this climate change issues by the government is now huge investment and disaster management infrastructure, such as flood embankment, cyclone shelters, etc., but not properly maintained and managed, etc. The Ministry of Disaster Management prepared disaster risk reduction strategies of Bangladesh 2016 and 2020. But still then, we are not so much success, especially in handling especially the infrastructure. Those who are naturally helps us to tackle the issues of the cyclone, tornado, etc., etc. So we have to go a long way, especially in this area. In goal 4, basically life below water, conserve and sustainability use of oceans, seas, marine resources for sustainable development. Marine resources, especially offshore oil and marine fishing, gas prospect, etc. Government effort in this area is not so much prolonged, etc. Especially we have able to increase our ocean territory from India to the international locals, but still now we are not harnessing the sea resources because of our lack of technological difficulties, and also the human resource, etc. So what are the challenges on this? Oil gas exploration and gas exploration has an impact, especially on fishing, etc. Shipbuilding has another impact on the marine environment, especially in the fisheries sector. Toxic related during shipbuilding has impact on our marine fisheries, etc. We have to we have to maintain a balance between the production of marine diversity and industrial activities in our country if we want to change the situation in goals number 14, etc. In goals number 14, etc. In goals 15, especially life in land, etc. In reference to the COVID situation, restore, prepare, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystem, sustainability, manage forest, combat deforestation, and halt and rescue land degradation, and halt biodiversity, etc. The SDG aim is to convert and restore the use of terrestrial ecosystem like forest, wetlands, drylands, and and mountain by 2020, etc. The ecosystem in Bangladesh is classified as terrestrial, inland water, coastal, and marine ecosystem, etc. So in our Bangladesh, the wetland, etc., the major terrestrial forest is already given in the report that has been published by the Joint Economic Division of the Bangladesh Commission on the progress of SDGs, etc., etc. Now, my and government is trying to develop in their efforts.
Actually, we cannot hear you. I don't know.
কেমনি করতে হয় যে মেসেজ পাঠাইতে হয়
Dr. Firdaus, please look at time of the seminar. It should be just request me Rai to finish as soon as possible. If it is not, next continue, please.
কোথায় চ্যাট জানি কোথায়
So hello everyone, assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so that's great.
Saima
So, yeah, I'm Saima Akter. Well, so can you see the screen? Do you see the screen?
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you
yes.
so much for the feedback. Actually, thank you so much for the feedback. If I'm not connected or if you can't hear me, please let me know. Okay. So thank you so much. At first, I would like to give thanks to our chairperson and also to the audience for waiting for so long time. Patiently waiting for so long time. I'm Dr. Saima Akter. I'm working as assistant professor in College of Agriculture Sciences, and I'll be talking a little bit about crop wild relatives today and their relationship with food security and nutrient. And let's see if there is any relationship. Okay. So there have been so many discussion about sustainable development goals, so many things. So let me be quick. Okay. So we know that we can see from this graph that by 2019, nearly 2 billion people in the world have been food insecure, and most of them were from Asia and Africa. And if we consider COVID pandemic situation, the number actually increases even more. Okay. And we know that this food insecurity is also related to malnutrition. And if we are talking about malnutrition, then we have to consider again physical and mental disability and different kind of illness as well. So can our crop wild relatives actually help in this context? Like, can it help actually? So let's have a look before going to that. So what is crop wild relative? That's, I'm sure most of us know a little bit, but not very sure. Okay, so crop wild relatives are the wild cousins. So it's the crop that we see in the market, but it is a wild version. Okay, and these crop wild relatives, they just change naturally among themselves, and they create new traits. Okay, and farmers or the breeders, they actually make crossing with the domestic crops to get new varieties. And crop wild relatives are known that they are very much resistant to pest and disease. They are very much high tolerant to different kind of environmental situation, like a high temperature, or maybe drought, maybe frost, or extreme weather conditions. Okay, and they also help. They have the ability that they can contribute genes that can increase the yield and also can increase nutritional quality. So here you can see a picture of kiwi fruit. So these are the wild relatives. So you can see that there are 3 kiwi fruit. One is green kiwi, another one is gold kiwi, another one is red kiwi. So these are the crops that we have been domesticated. Now when we go to the market, we see any of these 3 kinds. Apart from that, there are so many other kinds of wild relatives available in the natural condition. Okay, so when I'm talking about crop wild relatives, there are nearly 81 crop wild relatives so far have been identified in the world, and most of them are located in this zone. I think you can see, as I'm from Bangladesh, you can see that our country is a very rich source of for crop wild relatives. And if we just think about the high priority crop wild relatives, you can see in the map that yes, again, in our country, Bangladesh is a very rich source of high priority, top priority or high priority crop wild relatives. Okay, now let's have a look. What is high priority? Okay, you can see here there is a very big list, and according to the priority, like scientists have given priority scores from 0 to 10 for the crop wild relatives, and depending on the availability or their demand for the market, or their importance for the economic or for the crop development, they have been given some priority scores. And we can see here, like here we have our mango that has been given 9.9 priority score out of 10. So when I'm saying that 9.9 out of 10, so I think we all can understand that mango internationally is a very important crop wild relative. Okay, so now let's have a look. In the world, we have 46 types crop wild relatives of mango. Okay, so and among these 46 types, 26 of them produce edible fruits, and 4 has been domesticated so far, and 1 has been commercially cultivated, which you see in the market that we buy from the supermarket, which is known as Mangifera indica. But there are few other crops that are very much related to Mangifera indica, and one of them is Mangifera sylvatica, which is known as Uriam in our country. We also call it Tutiam, Baitam, and there are so many other local names. And its native range is Bangladesh, India, Nepal, China, Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, and this is actually a crop that is we know as a multi-purpose tree species. So we consume the fruit. Not only us, but also the wildlife. For the wildlife, this is also a very important food. Okay, and also we use this for pickle, and also the wood is used for plywood industry. But what happened that this species is now threatened in our country and also in India. But according to IUCN information, that is a least concerned species. But you can see here, the data is nearly 24 or 26 years old. So we need to really update the information. Well, and let's have a look what we get this kind of wild mango. So we see that the wild mango is a very rich source of vitamin C and vitamin A. you can see the photo of this wild mango. This is a very small, tiny fruit, like it's a mango, but it's shaped like a lychee. And if we just look at the some of the major macro and macronutrients, you can see that each portion of mango, like pulp, kernel, shell, and peel, is very, very rich in potassium and also in calcium. Okay, and so many other types of nutrients. Okay. Now let's have a look. We look for some of the medicinal properties from wild mango, and we found that the medicinal components we are getting from the wild mango can be used for so many kinds of diseases, that can fight for so many diseases like anti-anxiety, anti-diabetic, or anti-obesity. Also, maybe I saw some somewhere. Okay, so yeah. So it is a very good source of medicine as well. Okay, so but we also found that this wild mango, this wild species is actually a kernel producing tree. So in case of Mangifera indica, this is a picture of Mangifera indica, if you can follow my mouse. So this is an indica that we eat the flesh, and we use the kernel for some other things. But for the Mangifera sylvatica, the wild mango, we use that is a kernel producing tree that has a 40% of body mass is kernel, and that kernel is actually producing a very nice fat, very nice quality fat that can be used as a cocoa butter alternative. So this is one of the closest or one of the best cocoa butter alternative have been identified so far in the world, and that can be used not only for the food industry but also in the cosmetics industry and also in the pharmaceutical industry. So that makes this species a very much valuable species. Okay, now moving to the next, that we actually talk about only one species. This is the wild mango species, the crown, and that species not only providing us food, it also provides food for the wildlife, and also a source of medicine, and can also bring an industry to our country and maybe to other countries. So I'm just talking about one crop wild relative, but just think about the 81 crop wild relatives we know so far in the world. So there are very little information about.
Yeah, Dr. Saima, could you please brief your speech or presentation? Yeah. We're sorry.
Sure, sir. So at the end of my presentation, definitely I would like to say that crop wild relatives are very much important for not only for food security but also securing our livelihood, and that actually covers that can help to achieve our not only sustainable development goal number 2, that is zero hunger, and also no poverty, that can increase income opportunity. And also if we go for more plantation of the species, that will definitely combat or fight with climate change. And again, this will also help to conserve some of the biodiversity as well. So yeah, thank you. That's it. But at the end, I would like to thank you all of my my team members, my supervisors, who actually supported me throughout this project. This is a project which has been funded by European Union and a collaboration with Bangor University, UK, Copenhagen University, Denmark, and Chittagong University, Bangladesh. And thank you so much. That's it from my side. That's it. So I want to say, let's work together to conserve our crop wild relatives. That will give us that might help us to see a future that is sustainable. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
So thank you so much, Dr. Saima, for your nice presentation. So I really got disconnected due to the malfunction of my laptop. Now I'd like to request the chief guest today, because we are already late. So we would like to give her the floor first. So now I'd like to request Ms. Zuena Aziz, the chief guest, Principal Coordinator, SDGs, Prime Minister Office of the Bangladesh government. Ms. Zuena Aziz, can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And we are really sorry for all the interruptions.
Oh, it's okay. They are very important papers. Yeah, I like it.
Thank you so much.
Respected Chair, Professor Dr. Abdur Rab, Vice-Chancellor, IUBAT, and Chairperson, IISS, Dr. Kristofer Johnson, Team Leader, NRN, FAO, respected Executive Director, Regional Center of Expertise, Greater Dhaka, Professor Selina Nargis, Keynote Speaker and Director, IISS, Professor Dr. Ataur Rahman, Professor Amzad of Curtin University, paper presenter Dr. M. Rehan Dastagir, Dr. Mihir Kumar Roy, Dr. Abdul Salam, and Dr. Saima Akter. distinguished guests, the academics, researchers, students, and dear participants who have joined the national seminar virtually. Assalamu alaikum and good evening to you all. I would like to extend my wholehearted greetings and thanks to the organizer for inviting me to this virtual seminar on food security and ecosystem management in COVID-19. It is indeed a gathering of scholars, academics, researchers, students, and professionals. At the outset, I would like to offer the greetings of Mujibiyar to you all, as we have been celebrating the centennial birth anniversary of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The dream of Bangabandhu was to build a Sonar Bangla, and with the visionary leadership of his daughter, Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, we are in the process of realizing that dream. Dear participants, we all know that Agenda 2030 university target to end poverty, protect the planet, and to ensure peace and prosperity for all. Social, economic, and environmental challenges are targeted to be balanced in a manner that no one is left behind and reach the furthest behind first. To meet such resolutions and endeavors, we need this kind of conference where academics and researchers and young minds of the students participate in enhancing the idea of solution to different kinds of global problems, particularly food security and ecosystem management. Dear researcher, the rapid growth of social, economic, and environmental conditions bring innumerable challenges, and to meet them, the role of researchers can't be denied. I hope from the keynote paper and the other papers that have been presented tonight and discussions on the issues would help the researcher to get ideas and fields of research incorporating multidisciplinary approaches that will be useful in the national and global context. Respected guests, it is a notable factor that the core value of leave no one behind was incorporated in the Constitution of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, prepared under the direct guidance and directives of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in 1972. The Article 15D of the Constitution reflects the idea and very farsightedness of our father of the nation. Now, we are guided and inspired by the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. She herself owns the SDGs. She feels that we have done well in MDGs, so we can do better in SDGs as well. She has instructed us to integrate the targets of SDGs into our own development strategies. We are at the process of finalization of 8th five-year plan, which will also cover all the targets of SDGs like the 7th five-year plan. We are following the whole of society approach to implement the SDGs, and in our development endeavors, different stakeholders are involved. We have aligned horizontal and vertical integration among the different actors of SDGs, giving them the responsibilities who to do what. Dear participant, there is no denying the fact that COVID-19 pandemic is taking lives, spreading human sorrows, and seriously disturbing people's livelihood. However, the farsightedness of our Honorable Prime Minister and her timely intervention focusing lives and livelihood is showing positive sign in the economy. Honorable Prime Minister has announced different stimulus packages of US $14.14 billion, which is about 4.3% of GDP for immediate, short, and mid-term up to financial year 2023 to 2024 for 21 economic sectors. The policy was to increasing government expenditure, focusing employment creation, financial assistance package, increasing social security activities, and increasing money supply. With regard to ensure food security, emphasis was given on enhanced agriculture production, and hence all our efforts here taken to ensure uninterrupted supply chain. The packages related to food security might be mentioned here: distribution of free food items, distribution of rice at the rate of Taka 10 per kilo, distribution of cash among the targeted population, increase the coverage of the allowances program, procurement of Boro paddy, and mechanization of agricultural work, agricultural subsidies, agricultural refinancing scheme for low-income farmers, small traders. The government has provided food assistance and digital financing aid to 5 million households who are needy and classified as poor people. Government has provided 600 climate refugees new homes in Cox's Bazar. In total, 4,409 families will get new homes by 2023. Apart from this, our disaster management department provided climate resilient houses to the people who are living in the coastal areas. Bangladesh is one of the most proactive developing nations that has considered the issue of climate change seriously and subsequently achieved success in developing nation level scientific expertise and government level actions. Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has said Bangladesh is a role model in showing the world that even a developing country could roll out to many trends setting climate initiatives with courage and foresightness. Highly appreciating Bangladesh efforts during the Dhaka meeting of the GCA in 2019, the former UN chief Ban Ki-moon said, Bangladesh is the best teacher to learn from about adaptation. Let me conclude by saying that SDGs are all encompassing, integrated and interdependent agenda. Therefore, a strong and comprehensive platform like this seminar will create an opportunity for scholars, researchers, practitioners, academics and students to explore, exchange, debate, discuss and create a discourse for their own. Thank you all.
So thank you so much, our honorable chief guest, Ms. Zuena Aziz, the principal coordinator, the SDG, the Prime Minister Office. It was really, I mean, kind of remarkable speech where we got to know about the government's planning and the strategy to looking into the forward about the SDG, how to achieve, and so on. Thank you so much.
Firdaus,
yes, sir.
Let me especially thank our honorable chief guest.
Yes, please.
For being with us for the last 2.5 hours. And I felt that it was really a painstaking job. But we would like to extend the services of IISS to the assistance of the Prime Minister's SDG office. So in terms of training people, in terms of conducting research, and in terms of building up projects that can sustain development efforts, we'll be closely working with the Prime Minister's office, SDG office, and other agencies who are involved. Let me once again thank our chief guest for her valuable speech also, which has provided some new directions to the way the IISS can think of. So we'll be exploring these avenues and would like to take up some programs that can also be a part of our effort to assist the SDGs in Bangladesh. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I hope that Prof Abdur Rahman sir will take care about this matter, how to look into to engage. I mean, by bilateral or collaborative research in the near future. Thank you so much. Now, we are really apologize that we have some changes already that due to the time limitation, and it's already 9. So our chief guest, we gave her the floor. Now I'd like to request Dr. Kristofer Johnson, the special guest, the team leader, Natural Resource Management, Food and Agriculture Organization. He's from the FAO. Dr. Kristofer, the special guest of today's national seminar on the food security and ecosystem management in COVID-19. You are most welcome, Dr. Kristofer Johnson. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. I completely understand. We listened to so many interesting papers, and I appreciate all the guests who stayed around to listen to my talk. I hope it's worth your time. And I'd like to thank the organizers also for inviting us from FAO to come and represent in your program today. So I think my time is short, so I'll just jump into my presentation. Today I'd like to talk about building resiliency through agroecological information. We've had some great talks already on soil health, resiliency, so I hope that my comments more or less build on them. Let's just review what's happened. We're a little bit in shell shock still from this year and everything that's happened to us. The impacts of the COVID-19 on food security left us in the northern regions with, lower food insecurity or lower food security, and also lower ability to have healthy diets. So I'd like to point us to this report. Actually, it just came out officially last week. It's a rapid assessment that was put together by FAO, and you can see several partners there: IPFRI, IFAD, CMIT, IRI, and WorldFish. So in this assessment, we interviewed extensively around the country to try to understand where the effects were. And it's mostly felt in the northern country. It's felt everywhere, but especially in the northern regions and less so in the southern regions. So these graphs at the bottom show you, the comparison between food security and minimum dietary diversity, MDD, as you might know it. So this is just showing that people really were impacted by the shutdown in terms of their food security and their dietary intake. So that's a new study. We also learned from that study that there was, I think, as we can all assume, there was increases in prices in almost all the crops, but boro rice especially, and that most farmers reported some kind of scarcity of labor and machinery. And I just want to show this little video here. This is me during the lockdown time. I'm in Borishal at a family's village that I know. And there really was a shortage of labor. Even in Borishal, where it was a little bit less effective, it was difficult to find the labor that they needed to harvest the rice. So I have to show it now. So they recruited me to do some of the work there. So that's how bad the situation was. You don't usually get a foreigner who doesn't know anything about rice cultivation to do your work, but that's a funny example. But actually, the consequences that were felt all around the country were not so funny. I think many people suffered for this. Workers wanted to work, they couldn't get to where they needed to go because of transportation networks broke down, and some drivers just weren't willing to drive people or other ag machinery around. So these things all culminated or combined to really negatively affect the economy and people's livelihoods. At the bottom here, I just want to point out this graph. This was done by a study by the Dhaka Food Systems Project recently, and they monitored weekly the price of the average price of the food basket in the slum areas of Dhaka. So you can see that they started out reasonable in the beginning of the shutdown, but gradually increased, and especially during the Eid time, there was a spike in the prices, and then it sort of leveled off a little bit. But this was the impact felt in urban systems mostly. And what have been the responses? We've just heard a great summary about the food and cash transfers. I won't go through all of those, but just to mention that they were in the billions of taka allocated through the food friendly program alone, Farm subsidies, rice distribution reached 450,000 tons to poor and low-income populations. And there were many transfers actually going on from different organizations to try to alleviate the problem. The government just recently published their action plan for response to COVID-19. And we won't go through all the plan, but I'd like to highlight some things that stood out to me that could be effective and are areas that maybe match our topic today. In the midterm, they proposed in the next 2 to 3 years, an increase in agro production and an improvement in the marketing systems. Specifically, they identified in promoting organic fertilizers, developing e-agriculture, forecast weather systems, improved agro-processing and training in post-harvest management, and to develop high-yielding varieties of crops. So those were some of the key things that they identified. I highlight organic fertilizers because I think this one not only has benefits in the midterm, but also in the long term. Their long-term timeline only goes till 5 years, but again, they identify technologies that cope with climate change, a need for more research and development, and especially to improve water management and irrigation efficiency. And they identified a need to strengthen human resources within the Ministry of Agriculture. So I'll leave you to read the rest of the report. There's some interesting suggestions there, but those were some of the ones that stood out to me. So now what can be done going forward? What can we do? Because, you know, we're not in Bangladesh, we're not just trying to survive COVID-19. We're trying to learn from it so that when the next shock comes, we can be more prepared. And sustainable agriculture offers one angle at this solution. The solution will include a lot of different components, but sustainable agriculture we should not forget about. It aims to increase incomes and production, but also build long-term farmer resiliency to shocks. It specifically tries to cover all the things mentioned in SDG 2.4, which I think are key. By 2030, ensure sustainable food production systems and implement resilient agricultural practices that increase productivity and that help maintain ecosystems that strengthen capacity for adaptation and climate change, extreme weather, drought, flooding, and other disasters, and progressively improve land and soil quality. So these are, I like this goal. It's a lot of words and it's really dense, those words, but what it's trying to explain to us is a long-term vision towards sustainable ecosystems that can also sustain our food chains, our food systems, and we can be food secure in the future. Two concepts that fall in this umbrella of sustainable agriculture are climate smart agriculture. It's been mentioned tonight already. And another one called agroecology. I don't hear it so much mentioned here in Bangladesh, but I'd like to expound on a little more further. And there's a honest question we have to ask ourselves. So, you know, the resilience, let's step back for a minute. Resilience resilience will be promoted the best by optimizing the function of the agro-ecosystem. And so, and to be able to, but we don't always think of it that way. We're usually farmers and businesses, they want the land to produce. So they might not be thinking of the long-term agro-ecosystem health. But what we find ourselves is in a situation to sort of change and reset the pattern of the way we do things. So shocks like the recent COVID-19 pandemic, also extreme climatic events like the cyclone Amphan that we've just had, and then these slow onset events like climate change are opportunities to explore new sustainable and climate smart solutions. And there's still this question I have, there's economic measures for COVID-19 recovery will appropriately target production, and that will probably include modern machinery and modern agricultural practices. But when we do this, we need to take a step back and ask ourselves if it's leading us on a path that is sustainable over the long term. Is it going in the direction of chemicals and industry at the expense of a sustainable agro-ecosystem? So Bangladesh, in my experience here over 3 years, I've learned that the people here actually have generations of knowledge to contribute to a sustainable way to adapt to all kinds of shocks. We don't want to lose those. We just want to add to them and enhance them with new technologies, new practices, sharing knowledge between farmers, and digital technologies that allow them to access markets and do more online and remotely. Those are the things we want to promote. We don't want to throw away the good things that already we have. So in English, we have a phrase, it's called throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So when you have a baby and you're giving it a bath, you don't want when the water is dirty, you want to throw out the dirty water, but you don't want to throw out the baby, the thing that's most important. So that's what I'm trying to say, is just keep the things that work and try to build around them. Agroecology specifically is an integrated approach that applies ecological and social concepts. And it's like I said, it's supposed to optimize these interactions between plants and animals, humans, and the environment for sustainable food systems. There's 10 elements to agroecology. I invite you to just Google it on the internet and you'll find so much great information. But a couple elements that I'd like to highlight tonight are that it promotes diversity in the agricultural system so that farmers aren't over-reliant on only one value chain. It especially emphasizes knowledge sharing between farmers and knowledge sharing between scientists and farmers. Recycling principles, which means that we try to keep the fertile and organic waste from the farm inside the farming system, and we try to feed our farm animals with the things within the farming system and just recycle them in an efficient manner there. And then finally, resilience. If we follow these 10 elements, they should really lead us to resilience, and I'll talk more about that here. So here's some specific benefits. So if we look at, for example, minimizing use of chemical inputs, minimizing soil disturbance so that the organic matter can remain protected, protect and maintain organic matter, use a combination of livestock and crops. That's the diversity concept. And then inter and intra-species diversity. That should lead us to improve soil health and fertility. It should maintain habitats for the soil microbes and the other, not just microbes, but all the animals that are natural to an agroecosystem. And then there's a co-benefit of increasing soil carbon sequestration. What does it lead to? It should lead to a restoration of nutrient cycles, high water retention, encourage natural pollination, low greenhouse gas emissions, resilient agroecosystems, and restoration of degraded land. And down here is the main point. If we can secure our land resource base, that means if we can manage a good agroecosystem well, then that will remove this over-dependence on industrial solutions that may lead us on a path that is not sustainable. So when I say industrial solutions, doesn't mean that modern machinery is always bad. It just means that we don't want an over-dependence in that direction at the expense of the agroecosystem. And specifically for COVID-19, how does agroecology work? Agroecology is a holistic strategy. It promotes long-term fertility and healthy systems and secure livelihoods. And there's evidence that agroecology keeps carbon in the ground, it supports biodiversity, it sustains yields over time. And the emphasis is not so much on production or income. Those things come after, but if you manage the ecosystem well, it rewards you with production and income. And there's studies that show that these effects are real. I just highlight one. This is a study I found in Kenya. And if you just can look with me, what these different areas are around this circle are indicators of climate change resiliency. So is the system ecologically self-regulated? Is it functional and diverse? Is it connected? And what they found is that in a control and treatment group, farmers that practice agroecology versus farmers that did not practice agroecology were more resilient to climate change significantly in some areas, even after only a few years of training them, introducing them to these concepts. So there's real potential, I think, to build resilience of farmers to climate change, and the same principles will build them to resilience in shocks, pandemics, or natural disasters. Agroecology uses natural synergies, as I mentioned, not synthetic chemicals, to regenerate soils and fertilize crops and even fight pests. And it is less dependent on imported inputs like fertilizers and pesticides, and therefore reduces vulnerability to trade disruptions and price shocks. So we saw this problem in Bangladesh. Imports of fertilizers and other things that went down because the market was just frozen for a while. Transportation, everything was frozen. So farmers suffered to find the inputs that they were used to using. But if they had a sustainable agro-ecosystem within their own farms, they wouldn't have to look for outside sources. They would be just fine on their own. What are some specific concepts of agroecology? I mentioned crop diversification. It's been found to build resistance to pest and disease, and also benefits the uptake of soil nutrients and water. Cover crops improve soil health by adding organic matter, and crop livestock integration means that like I said, we're trying to use the byproducts of crops to feed our livestock, but then keep the manure in the system so that it sustains the benefits of, and return that organic fertilizer, those organic inputs and nutrients back into our soils. It's known that if we can just increase organic matter, that productivity will normally increase. We don't always see it the very next year or even the year after, but long term, if we can manage just the organic matter, just that, if we can maintain it or increase it, then our yields also increase. There's a lot going on now in terms of protecting soil biodiversity. So this just means making sure that we have the animals and worms and insects that are natural to the system, and not try to eliminate them with harmful pesticides or chemical inputs. And then I mentioned this earlier, but it's very important that we use the farmers' knowledge, that they take all these ideas, they talk about them, they discuss them, they find out what works, what's most feasible. They adapt the scientific knowledge that's giving them to their own local conditions, and that's probably the most sustainable and feasible path that they can follow. So in conclusion, I know I rushed through that, but in conclusion, I just want to say that, again, we're not trying to just survive COVID. It's not the point. The next time we have a COVID or the next time we have some event, we want farmers to not need cash or food transfers, right? Because they will be self-reliant in their own systems. So I think that's our ultimate goal. I think I want to challenge us to think about. Also that agroecology and sustainable agriculture offer a long-term solution because farmers will be more resilient to climate change and other shocks. And my question to you is, how can we integrate these kind of concepts into other approaches? Whether you use the word agroecology or climate smart agriculture, conservation agriculture, whatever is your favorite word, how do we do more to integrate these things into the ongoing approaches and make sure we don't go down a path that leads us to unsustainable agriculture that we may pay for later in the future? So that's my presentation. Thanks for your time. And I'll stop sharing my screen and over to you.
So thank you so much, Dr. Kristofer Johnson. It was really impressive speech by you, and most interesting part was that how you really work with the farmers. And by doing this, I'm sure that you explored the indigenous knowledge how to manage the rice straw in the culture of Bangladesh. It was really nice. So now I would like to Kumar Gangwar, the guest of honor, for this today's seminar, and we are very much sorry to keep waiting Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar, the coordinator of the Asia Pacific RCEs Coordinating Committee. He's from Srinagar, India. So you are welcome. Now it is your time, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar, the guest of honor today.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, namaste, and very good evening, everyone. First of all, I pay my deepest condolences to Professor Mia. With his demise, we have really lost a great visionary, an academician, a fine administrator, and a great friend. We were together on many occasions, both on Asia Pacific Regional Committee meetings, as well as the global RC meetings. And he could speak very fantastic Hindi. That's what and his students are world over. So we were together in Japan, and his students invited him. And he got a lot of Bangladeshi food for me. A fantastic time we had. Let me also put on record that as on today, we have 175 RCEs globally, 86 in Asia Pacific region. And RC Greater Dhaka has been doing fantastic work out of these 86 RCEs in the Asia Pacific region. The work of RC Dhaka has been really commendable, being part of the Asia Pacific RCEs coordinating committee meeting. I must say this, put on the record. I must congratulate IUBAT, IISS, and RC Greater Dhaka for organizing this event. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I see the attendance from the highest office of your country, Prime Minister's Office, Planning Commission, Department of Environment, Bangladesh Climate Change Trust, and even FAO representative, Dr. Kristofer Johnson, made fantastic presentation. And we saw him how he was so close to the people. Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Honorable Pro-Vice-Chancellor, then Selina, Nargis, Chairperson, Executive Director, IISS, and my good friend, Professor Ataur Rahman. Thank you. And I do not see this as a national event, having people from Australia, from UN-FAO, from India, and I also put a hat of RCEs of Asia Pacific region. I would very much call it an international event. When it comes to, like Dr. Rahman said, ecosystem could be very small, could be very large. So let me first take the planet Earth as an ecosystem, which we have only one planet. There is no planet B. And this planet is really gasping. It is dying. It is really in a very terrible bad shape. And the future sustainability is at stake. As on today, we are in great overshoot. We require by 2019 1.75 planet. So we have just one planet with us. The 0.75 overshoot manifests whatever we see, the biodiversity loss, the climate change, the global warming, all water shortage, the rivers drying, dying, everything. So unless we come to one planet living, unless we take care of the planet Earth ecosystem, the largest ecosystem, and that is the only refuge we have, we are going nowhere. I mean, if you look at the past, it is estimated our generation is the 10,000 generation. Before us, 9,999 generations. They have lived on this planet, and they were so wise, living in harmony with nature, that they could pass on in plenty the natural resources that we have been fortunate enough to inherit from our ancestors. And our generation, which has been so well equipped in terms of technology, in terms of information, we have GIS, remote sensing, but we have not been able to do justice to maintain the sustainability. By 2050, the Earth will be in a terrible shape if we do not really take drastic measures. By 2100, the temperature rise, global warming, and all the ecosystems that we have will be terribly, terribly poor, terribly deteriorated, and not really worth living. So that is the big question mark, taking care of the planet Earth ecosystem for our own lives as well as for the survival of our future generations. I said 1.75 planets beneath, and we have what we call it ecological footprint that decides how we have been how have been treading on the planet Earth, how lightly or how heavily. So we have been treading on the planet Earth very heavily, and our footprint has been increasing, and the biocapacity that the planet is able to regenerate, is able to meet our demands, has been constantly decreasing. We have seen the soil is no longer productive. It has lost the organic content. It has lost the biodiversity that Kristofer shown to us. So really, I mean, the Earth planet has terribly, terribly problems, and that we all need to sort out to take care of our future. Now, coming down to planet Earth, coming down to further level of the ecosystems, we have three major ecosystems: the terrestrial, where we do the agriculture, forestry, whatever, and the freshwater ecosystems, which we have, I mean, very important for our industries, agriculture, food security, nutrition security, freshwater ecosystems, fisheries, and the marine ecosystem. So terrestrial, freshwater, and marine, all these three major ecosystems which meet our demands, all our major supplies come from them. They are in a very bad shape. The freshwater ecosystems, 81% loss of biodiversity, and I mean, we see it. The groundwater is polluted, the surface water is polluted, and there is huge shortage of water. Countries and cities have been mapped where there is scarcity of water. Tourists are not allowed to go there, and terrible, terrible situation. So all these three ecosystems at the global level, terrestrial, freshwater, and marine, we have to really take care of that. And getting further down to the ecosystems, we have, say, the country Bangladesh. The agriculture we have talked, the soil, which is the main thing, which produces, which gives us the sustenance. Soil today is really very poor in quality and the fertility. It doesn't have that organic content. It doesn't have those microbes. It doesn't have the water holding capacity. It doesn't have aeration. And if we lose the soil, you know, the top fertile soil, just 2 inches, it takes so long to build it. And when it gets eroded very quickly, maybe disaster, maybe use of pesticide, fertilizers, industrial. So we need to really take care of the soil as an ecosystem. We need to maintain the soil fertility. That will give us the food security. If we look at the water quality, air quality in India, so must be the Bangladesh. Air quality is so poor these days. I mean, people are burning the straw, and otherwise as well. Lot of the WHO says 7 out of 10 deaths are because of indoor air pollution, and all those things are there. So agriculture, fisheries, and other production systems. So the quality we are losing. We are not having the ecosystems the healthy, and we need to focus on agriculture, fantastic, and the aquaculture, whatever cultures we have. But we in the South Asian region need to also look at the alternative ecosystems. Maybe, I mean, the population that we have, we need to make it a resource. At the moment, both in India, Bangladesh, and many other countries of South Asia, population is not really a asset, it is a liability, because we have not been able to give skills to the population. And that's what China, I mean, our neighbor country has done it. So that is the lesson we have to learn from our neighbors. We have to make our population skilled, and we can also do the world's production, both in India and China. And we have the lessons from like Taiwan, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Singapore, the small countries, and they do a lot of production of the world community, and they are making there. So that's how you need to have your population skilled and then contribute to the world economy and get the income. Tourism could be another sector. We have examples from Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Thailand, Cambodia. These countries, I mean, and Bangladesh is so rich. You have the variety of ecosystem, right from hill tracts to the plains to the coastal to the marine. All these, you have Sundarbans, fantastic ecosystem. You have Royal Bengal tiger. Culturally, you are so rich, so much to attract the tourists. You have so much tourist attractions. So managing your ecosystems and then putting them for the world community and getting income out of it. So you can protect your ecosystems and then make income out of it, keeping sustainable base out there. Disasters have been, I mean, because of climate change induced and otherwise as well. Bangladesh is terribly prone to, very susceptible, very vulnerable to disaster. So we need to focus at building a disaster resilient community. Your agriculture has to be disaster resilient, your communities have to be disaster resilient. And but I must say, I mean, Bangladesh doesn't contribute much to climate change. So you must be compensated by the Global Climate Change Fund for not contributing to climate change, but getting suffered so badly because of the impacts of climate change, which the whole of the world, the other countries are responsible for. So that again, I mean, Bangladesh should fight for it. You must get compensated for getting hit by it, but not contributing to it. So all those are, I mean, small points. So focusing on agriculture is good, but then also the alternative livelihood sources, tourism to the skill development, software, all that we need to get into it. And that will really bring in, if we reduce the pressure on agriculture, on the natural ecosystems, by way of alternative income and employment, we will be able to strengthen all these ecosystems. They will automatically regenerate, reducing the pressure from the ecosystems. COVID pandemic, the whole global footprint got reduced, shrunk by 9.3%. So the COVID lockdown really helped us. And we know all the ecosystems. We could see the Himalayas, we could, the freshwater rivers were so clean, so dirty. So that is how, I mean, the ecosystem regeneration, improvement in ecosystem health can happen. The COVID has proved it. The overshoot was reduced by 21 days because of the lockdown. So it need not be triggered by a disaster. So we have to design it. The overshoot reduction in footprint, reduction in the overshoot, and the consumption has to be designed by the humanity. It has not to be forced by a disaster or a pandemic. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much. Wish you good luck.
So thank you, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar, for your nice, presentation. I would say the speech. You nicely said that although there was it was raised the fund of the climate fund, but it still we didn't have a single penny for Bangladesh. But it's mostly impacted due to the cyclone disaster and so on. So thank you for your nice presentation. So now I would like to open the discussion session on the theme. So already we are running out the time. So we have the time constraints. Maybe I will only can entertain few of the questions. Dear audience, you can ask the question to the paper presenter, okay? To Dr. Rehan Dastagir, Professor Mihir Kumar Roy, the keynote speaker, Professor Dr. M. Abdur Rahman, and Dr. Saima Akter. So if there is any question from the audience, then maybe I will be helping you to give you the floor. So anyone, if you have any question, then maybe you can ask and maybe they will answer. But I only can entertain few of the questions, no more than 5 minutes from now, maybe. So thank you. Anyone, please. Seems like there is no questions. There is. We are really sorry. It's already late, and it's exactly.
Everybody's tired. Everybody's tired.
10 p.m. Okay, sir. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, are you there? So. Yeah.
I think I would be speaking.
Yeah, okay, madam. Yeah, I know that. I'm just taking permission that we are skipping the discussion on theme now because maybe no one is keen to ask. Yeah, okay. Okay, now I'd like to welcome our honorable, the Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Madam Professor Dr. Hamida Akter Begum, the Pro-Vice-Chancellor of the IUBAT. So please, you are welcome for your speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It has been a very long evening. Honorable Chief Guest, respected Chair, my dear colleagues, and very reputed national and international speakers. Assalamu alaikum. And it has been worth, participating conference, not national, I would say it is international conference. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And the issue is food security and ecosystem management in the context of COVID-19, which is very important issue for not only for our national but international global issue. So I listened to the keynote paper presented by Dr. Ataur Rahman, and also the valuable speeches and also the presentations of the papers. And we all are aware of the fact that COVID-19 pandemic has really created a global health crisis, and the long-term impact of the pandemic is predicted to reach far beyond today. In a country like Bangladesh, a middle-income country with upward economic growth, it is essential to develop proper understanding of the present situation and come up with a recovery plan. And I heard many of you are learned speakers, they have touched upon it very elaborately. But we find that Bangladesh made significant progress in poverty reduction over the last 2 decades. Its poverty dropped to 23.2% in 2016 from 48.9% in 2000, which helped improving the country's food security status. And we all know that Bangladesh made remarkable progress in most of the 4 dimensions of food security: food availability, food access, food utilization, and food stability. Unfortunately, with the advent of COVID-19, travel restrictions, lockdown, and social distancing measures, etc., it caused a setback in the country's position. Although government always states that the country is well prepared for crisis, the current COVID situation has created, we must not ignore some of the weaker aspects or negative ones. I would rather like to highlight the social aspects and to come up with certain positive steps realizing the reality. One of the greatest negative aspects is corruption. In the marketing, we have seen how price hike was there, and all on a sudden we are not getting some food of some kind, etc., etc. So that is one of the social aspects that we have to adhere to, and that urgently needs to be addressed with fullest strength to regain food security status. Another negative aspect is the management system. I would say it is not at all flawless. There are so many negative aspects. We have to take care of it. Keeping these aspects under control, we should look forward for future planning. One thing I must admit, COVID-19 has not only created uncertainty, but has opened opportunities for future strategic planning of strengthening food security situation. For post-pandemic rebuilding program, we must listen to the experience of affected people. The government must be sensitive to the people's needs in terms of social, cultural, and economic practices while dealing with the prolonged crisis. Food is the primary ingredient of our social safety plan. Agriculture should be given foremost priority for rebuilding the future. Farmers are the basic elements of food security planning. So their interest must never go unheard. They must not be ignored. They must not be exploited. Rather, they must get justice in getting return of their labor and investment. They must be given opportunity to share their views. It is necessary to build a, I would say, farmer consumer oriented producing, processing, marketing, setting system to lead a comprehensive recovery and increase preparedness for dealing with food insecurity. I hope this will come true. We will wait to see its benefits in future. With these words, I would like to thank you all for your participation and contributions to this conference. I would say international conference, not only a national one, targeted to the improvement of food security planning and post-COVID crisis situation. Thank you all.
Thank you so much to our Honorable Pro-Vice-Chancellor, ma'am, for your very impressive speech. Now, I would like to invite our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Abdur Rab, for his presidential speech. Professor Dr. Abdur Rab, you are most welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, although it is quite late. Honorable Chief Guest of today's conference, Ms. Zuena Aziz, a special guest, Mr. Kristofer Johnson, guest of honor, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar, the Executive Director of IISS, Professor Selina Nargis, the Director of IISS, Professor Ataur Rahman, Professor Amzad Hussain, and other distinguished paper presenters, participants, and my colleagues from IUBAT. I have been listening to the presentation and watching them from time to time. The valuable thoughts that they have shared over food security. All we know that food is the most important item in our life. And if we recall that there had been famine at different times in Bangladesh as well as in the world, we realize how important it is. Now, food security had always been an important consideration for the policymakers as well as for common people. Professor Rahman has very aptly revealed the challenges that are there to address this food security issue. Basic fact is that in Bangladesh, in a small area of 144,000 square kilometers, how can it sustain and how long it can sustain the pressure of population of 1.8 billion people? Now, we have to have an optimization, an optimum level of land people ratio, a productive population that can enhance the economic growth, bring in satisfaction to all the people of Bangladesh. That is a great challenge. And this has become still more difficult in the face of the climatic change. So the issues that have been discussed should be brought together in an integrated form to find out what are the problems and challenges, how to address them, what are the alternative solutions available, and I would say a set of recommendations so that the authority can give consideration to these while they make policies. Let me recollect my association with the founders of university. When he conceived this university, and at the time I was an associate with him, he had the concept of what we call today SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. But at that time, when back in 1988, there was this term, there was no, these terminologies were not there. What he said that the higher education has to be sustainable, and then to make it sustainable, we have to consider not just a batch of teachers or students, but it has to be considered in terms in its entirety. So he tried to implement the idea through the inculcation of the environmental issues that would be affecting the sustainability, and he would try to reflect these in academic curriculum, in the physical design of the campus, and in the construction of the building, and above all, trying to disseminate this idea of living with the nature, trying to protect the nature, trying to promote the interest of the human being through the promotion of the nature. So that university had been trying to do this from the very beginning, and RC is one example. He himself had been writing papers, conducting research in this environmental sustainability and so on. But following his idea, we thought that it is time that we set up an institute in the university to address the issues of SDG, and following, I would say, his footsteps, we thought that we could involve people from different disciplines to promote this idea of SDG. The institute is planning actually to train up people in SDG, trying to conduct research so that it can contribute to the goal of achieving sustainable development, and also would be trying to develop projects that could actually be shown as a model. We have started the work of, say, curriculum design, and would be also looking for a master's in SDG from the University of Grants Commission. We have to seek permission. But meanwhile, we'd also be addressing the need for trained people for SDG through training, seminars, workshops, and so on. So Professor Ataur had been very successful, at least to start with the several seminars, national and international, that he organized, and also in developing the training programs, curricula. Actually, we had also been trying to identify the different government and non-government agencies whom we could assist, or what I would say they could also assist us, would be going for collaboration, a sort of a joint effort, apart from the academic programs that we are going to have. So one of the purpose of this conference was to network with people who are in this field, working and contributing towards the achievement of SDG. I'm very happy to see that we have people from many different areas, I mean SDG areas, and had actually come up with issues that needs to be addressed But again, I would say it is not enough that we know what are the problems. We must try to find out alternative solutions and then try to implement it through strategy and long-term plans. I was very impressed when Professor Abdhesh Kumar mentioned that he worked with Professor Imundamian and had been with him in Japan and other places. It reminds me that this fellow, Dr. Mian, he was a great networker. He would be trying to tie up anyone who, in his assessment, would actually be contributing to the development of the country, whoever he is, whether he's a foreigner or local. I would like to conclude by saying that our efforts have just begun. We'll be actually pursuing more and more of these kind of activities in future, and we'll be looking for your cooperation again. Let me thank our chief guest, guest of honor, special guest, paper presenters, keynote speaker, and others who have joined this session and had with lot of patience still pursuing and attending the seminar. And I'm very impressed that Mrs. Aziz is still there with us. Actually, I felt at one stage that she should be given the floor earlier so that she can be relieved from the tension of being in the seminar for so long. Anyway, I'm really thankful to her. I must thank Dr. Ataur Rahman, Professor Nargis, and Firdaus Ahmed, and others who took a lot of patience and also traveled to organize this online seminar. And with these words, I would like to thank everyone once again. Allah Hafiz.
So thank you so much to Honorable the President, of this seminar, Professor Dr. Abdur Rahman, the Vice-Chancellor of IUBAT. Now it is almost closing, okay. Just there is a concluding remarks, and that will be given myself. I must be brief. I won't be taking no more than 3 minutes, maybe. So now myself, Firdaus Ahmed here for the concluding remarks. Very good evening, Honorable Chief Guest, respected special guest, guest of honor, President of the ceremony, our most valued invited guest, and my dear colleagues. It's my privilege for making the concluding remarks in this occasion. I, on behalf of the IUBAT Institute of SDG Studies, would like to extend a very hearty thanks to all the speakers for your remarkable speech and sharing us your expertise and opinions today. It was a wonderful evening indeed, where all the speakers tried to find the solution addressing the post-COVID policy scenario for sustainable food security through ecosystem management. We are very much delighted having the high-profile invitees like the chief guest, special guest, and guest of honor. We really thank them from the bottom of our heart for their valuable time for joining this program. However, all the speakers nicely highlighted the challenge of the food insecurity in this global pandemic. They also mentioned the importance of the sustainable ecosystem to ensure the food security level for the global population. It was also said that global warming and climate change causing the global food damage along with the impacts of COVID-19. That all clearly mentions by the Dr. Kristofer Johnson, that how the COVID-19 impacts on the food supply and the demand. Therefore, adaptation approach can augment the food sufficiency level, which is clearly indicated by the keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Abdur Rab. My sincere gratitude to the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Abdur Rab, Professor Selina Nargis, the Chairperson of RCE Greater Dhaka and the Executive Director of IISS for their tremendous support to organize this national seminar. We have been fortunate enough to have a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues from the IISS and RCE Dhaka who extended their cordial support. We are also pleased to acknowledge all the participants from the different members of RCE and ICFI University Tripura. Heartfelt thanks to all the distinguished invitees and the audience to grace this program into a height. Gracious thanks to DRS Mr. Alamgir Bhuya, the Associate Professor and System Administrator, for the technical support creating Zoom meeting and so on. Last but not least, we are very much grateful to all the persons who are somehow engaged behind the success of today's seminar. Again, thanks to everyone and good night. So thank you, dear audience. So that is the end of today's National Seminar on Food Security and Ecosystem Management. So Honorable Vice-Chancellor, we are seeking the permission to close it from here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for those. Thank you. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night. Good night. Yeah, it's our pleasure to have you as a guest here. Thank you so much for your presence.
Thank you.
Okay, so bye-bye. Good night. Assalamu alaikum. Meeting closed.